217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is you're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. The McLean County Museum of History is almost set to unveil a new temporary exhibit about the local history of baseball and softball. Candace Summers, Senior Director of Education at the museum, explains that more than a game, a community history of baseball and softball will be the latest rotating exhibit on display when it opens on July 18th. She says it was no trouble to find relevant history right in McLean County and its communities.
Yeah, so we're super excited to be unveiling our next temporary exhibit, although it'll be up for 5 years, so I don't know how temporary that is. But it's a changing exhibit that will be up that's called More Than a Game, a Community History of Baseball and Softball. And baseball and softball have a really rich and vast history in Bloomington Normal. We've had baseball teams, since the pre-Civil War, and then of course softball coming towards, the 20th century. And we've had minor league teams. We've had players go on to the big leagues. We have a 19th century baseball player that still holds a record to this day, Charles Old Hoss Radburn, who pitched 59 winning games in one season in 1884.
Wow.
So it helps. He was the only pitcher for the team for part of the season, but still a record. One of the few 19th century baseball players in Cooperstown. And so we're going to be exploring not just, who the players were and the history of the teams, but what issues came up in the games of baseball and softball, because it very much mirrored what was going on nationally and politically, where you had the race divisions, where Black players weren't allowed to play with white players for quite a long time, women breaking the barrier into softball, Title IX, things like that. And of course, lots of fun activities to kick off that exhibit when we open it on July 18th.
Summers says they have many interesting artifacts that were passed down through generations and then donated by community members to preserve not only the piece, but the memory of the family.
So one of my favorites is a baseball that's signed by Old Hoss and his team from what's considered to be the first completed World Series type event. And it's super cool that we have this baseball in our collection. People come all the time and they're like, how did you get this? And it's like, well, Old Hoss was from Bloomington, so of course that's why we have it. Once Old Hoss was no longer a baseball player because he basically ruined his arm pitching, go figure. He ended up owning a bar in downtown Bloomington called Radburn's Place, which would have been just a couple blocks from the museum. And I'm assuming he had the ball there, and then descendants donated it to our historical society, which was founded in 1892. But we have, just a treasure trove of other artifacts, uniforms from players, gloves and hats and just all sorts of amazing things. It's going to be super cool to showcase these items, not just, minor league ball, but Illinois State, Illinois Wesleyan. Also the era when all these businesses had teams too. So like Beer Nuts had a team, State Farm had a team. So it's going to be really cool to highlight how everybody had a chance to play baseball and softball. It didn't matter who you were or what your ability was. Baseball and softball are your story and our story.
Guest curator Bill Kemp and his expertise were essential to the research that went into the exhibit. Summers says they were able to build off his knowledge of the 3I League Illinois, and Indiana, which was active from 1901 to 1961.
So usually researching for an exhibit of this type can take, 2 to 3 years just to do the research. Our guest curator for the exhibit, Bill Kemp, he's kind of like our local baseball guru. He's been writing about baseball for a long time in our Pantograph column that the museum has. So there's numerous stories that kind of peppered over the decades we've been doing that column. And then he presents a program on one minor league called the 3I League, which a lot of people think 3I like the letter I, but it's like 3I like your eyeball. And that was the Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa Baseball League, where you had teams traveling throughout those states playing each other. And so that was a great foundation for this exhibit. And then we built on that, branching out into softball, learning about men's fast pitch softball, of course, women's softball, connected to the colleges. And so as you're doing the exhibit research, you start thinking about like what images are there, and also what kind of artifacts do we have in our collection to support an exhibit of this type? Because it wouldn't be much of an exhibit if you didn't have any artifacts on display. So that's when you kind of go through and see what all you have, and then you narrow it down to what is safe to display, meaning that the artifact is in good enough condition to display.
As the grand opening of the exhibit on July 18th grows closer, we'll hear more from Summers on the event and activities that will be hosted in honor of the display. In the meantime, learn more at mchistory.org. Elder Abuse Awareness Day was June 15th, and Social Security is imploring families and communities to step up and help protect this vulnerable population from a quiet form of abuse: scams. Jack Myers with Social Security indicates elder abuse can take many forms: physical harm, emotional abuse, neglect, financial exploitation, or scams. Abuse can happen to anyone, and signs may be obvious or hard to spot.
Last month we celebrated, Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and so that kind of got me thinking about some of our topics that we talk about and how that fits into that subject, and obviously the importance of safeguarding older adults. And so when it comes to Social Security, one of the things I think about are the scams that we often talk about. And so if we kind of think about how we need to protect America's seniors from abuse, neglect, and exploitation, and the shared responsibility that is, I think that's a good place to start in terms of Social Security. And that's something that we can all probably do a better job of. Family, friends, neighbors, caregivers, we can all make a meaningful difference in an older person's life. And these scams that target seniors are something that we need to talk more about. Scammers often impersonate government employees, and they try to target seniors with tactics that include calls, text, emails, messages claiming that there are issues with Social Security numbers or benefits. And they design these to create fear and urgency. So
scammers often impersonate government employees to target seniors. Myers indicates common scam tactics include calls, texts, emails, or messages claiming issues with Social Security numbers or benefits. Scams create fear and urgency, pressuring individuals to share personal information or send money. According to Myers, Social Security is partnering with other federal agencies on the new national Never Ever campaign to raise awareness about government imposter scams. Key reminders include: never ever will a government employee say your money isn't safe, move it to protect it. Never ever will a government employee threaten to suspend benefits if you don't pay immediately. And never ever will a government employee demand payment via apps, cryptocurrency, wire transfer, or gift cards. Myers has more information about elder abuse and scams, and we'll have more on that with him next week from the Heart Media Group. Learn more at ssa.gov/scams or visit eldercare.acl.gov/home to connect older adults and caregivers to local resources. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Here's Matt Hart, owner of the Hart Media Group in Clinton.
It's been great. You and Ben and the entire team are doing a great job. And we're just continuing on serving the local community, right? This is what this is all about. We're here to serve our local community. We're here to tell the local stories. We're here to cover the news. So nothing in that regard is changing. Our goal is connecting people. And that's our tagline at Hart Media Group. It's connecting people.
Hart purchased the Miller Media Group in August of 2025 and looks forward to serving the community for years to come.
From pickups to family vehicles, trust the experts at Walker Tire in Clinton, featuring quality Yokohama tires for dependable performance. We're here to help you find the right tire for every vehicle and every budget. Learn more by clicking our icon on DeWittDailyNews.com.
Longview Community Bank is now open in Clinton, investing in rural Illinois. I'm Vice President Nate Sams. Stop by for a visit or to find out how we provide real local banking. Click our banner ad at the top of the local news page on DeWittDailyNews.com.
ServPro Team McGuire is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of severe weather coverage across all WHOW platforms, AM, FM, and streaming online, as well as on WEZC, your easy choice for soft hits at 95.9 FM. Whether it's wind, rain, or even snow, you'll stay informed with severe weather updates around the clock. When severe weather strikes, we break in anytime to bring you the critical information you need to keep your family safe. Brought to you exclusively by ServPro Team McGuire, your local fire, storm, and water restoration experts. Here's Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson on how he works to save you money every day.
I watch the Decatur market very carefully. I stay under these, supposed low-price chains. I make sure I'm under them. So anybody that's rushing to Decatur or other towns to buy commodity items like flour and sugar and milk and eggs and things that matter are fooling themselves. We are cheaper or as cheap on all the items that matter, and I make sure of that.
And as Dave always says,
Hope to see you soon.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Colson Montgomery hit a 2-run homer, and Kyle Teal and Tristan Peters added solo shots as the Chicago White Sox beat the Cleveland Guardians 7-6 on Sunday to split a 4-game series between the AL Central's top teams.
After a 90-minute delay to start Sunday's series finale in Cleveland, the White Sox found a way to win in sloppy conditions, battling a wet field throughout the day, but finding a way to walk away with a series split on the strength of 3 long balls.
Swinging a deep drive out into right center field. That will get to the wall, and it's gone. He hit the platform just above the wall, and it bounced into the bullpen. A 2-run blow for Montgomery. 6-3.
7-6 winner for the Sox as they leave Cleveland in first place by 1 over the Guardians, and they return home for the final homestand before the All-Star break, beginning with the Red Sox on Tuesday. I'm Jeff Meller, and I'll have your pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock on the ESPN 1000 Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
The White Sox are off today, but you can catch Tuesday's kickoff of a midweek series with the Red Sox on WHOW. Pre-game starts at 6 p.m. Nico Horner drove in 2 runs. Pete Crow Armstrong had 2 hits, and the Chicago Cubs rallied for 4 runs in the 6th inning against a sloppy St. Louis defense to top the St. Louis Cardinals 6-4 on Sunday and avoid a series sweep. Alex Bregman doubled in a run. Pinch hitter Pedro Ramirez had an RBI, and the Cubs posted 2 unearned runs to win for the 10th time in their last 13 games. St. Louis's Jordan Walker hit his 20th homer, a 3-run shot in the 6th, then drove in a 4th run with a sacrifice fly in the 8th to boost his RBI total to 67, tied for most in the majors. Rookie J.J. Weatherholt and Alec Burleson each had 2 hits. After Walker's drive to deep left put St. Louis ahead 3-2, Chicago took advantage of 2 Cardinals errors in the bottom of the 6th. Horner tied it at 3-all with an RBI single off Matthew Liberatore, who is 4-6. Michael Busch scored to make it 4-3 when third baseman Jose Fermin threw Dansby Swanson's double play grounder wide of second and into right field. Horner scored from third on Ramirez's sacrifice fly to Walker and right. Swanson came home from second to make it 6-3 when Walker's throw to third skipped wide of the bag. Drew Pomeranz is 1-3 and pitched an inning of relief for his first win with the Cubs since rejoining them Friday. Jacob Webb tossed the final 2 innings for his third save. Cubs starter Javier Assad allowed no runs in 4 2/3 innings, yielding 2 singles while walking 2 and striking out 2. Liberatore allowed 4 earned runs on 4 hits in 5+ innings and was nursing a 2-0 lead entering the 6th when Matt Swanson relieved. Liberatore walked 2, hit 3 batters, and struck out 2. The Cubs jumped ahead 2-0 in the first, scoring on Bregman's double and Horner's sacrifice fly. Cardinals right-hander Dustin May is 5-6 with a 4.8 ERA and faces Milwaukee lefty Shane Drohan, who is 3-2 with a 3.12 ERA in St. Louis on Monday. Cubs lefty Matthew Boyd is 3-1 with a 5.08 ERA and starts Tuesday at Baltimore against Orioles right-hander Shane Baz, who is 4-8 with a 4.19 ERA. In Sunday scores from around the MLB, the New York Mets beat the Atlanta Braves 10-9, while the Pittsburgh Pirates took down the Washington Nationals 11-5. The Cincinnati Reds beat the Baltimore Orioles 3-2, and the Minnesota Twins took down the New York Yankees 6-1. The Kansas City Royals beat the Philadelphia Phillies 5-2, while the Detroit Tigers beat the Texas Rangers 6-3. The Houston Astros shut out the Tampa Bay Rays 2-0, while the Colorado Rockies beat the San Francisco Giants 7-6. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 3-2, and the Miami Marlins took down the Athletics 9-8. The Seattle Mariners shut out the Toronto Blue Jays 4-0, while the San Diego Padres beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 5-2, and the Boston Red Sox beat the Los Angeles Angels 7-5. After a successful card trick that made Folarin Balogun's suspension disappear, the United States will try to win back-to-back World Cup knockout games for the first time and reach its first quarterfinal since 2002. Coach Mauricio Pochettino figures to have his top-choice lineup available Monday when the Americans, ranked 17th in the world ahead of this tournament, face number 9 Belgium in a rematch of the 2014 round of 16 game in Brazil, won 2-1 by the Red Devils in extra time. At stake is a quarterfinal berth against either Spain or Portugal and the chance to play France or Morocco in a semifinal. Belgium overcame a 2-goal 86th minute deficit to defeat Senegal 3-2 over extra time in the round of 32. The Red Devils beat the U.S. 12 years ago on goals by Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku, and again 5-2 in a March friendly in Atlanta. After losing their group stage final to Turkey 3-2 on a stoppage time goal, the Americans entered the knockout rounds with a 10-game, 4-year losing streak to European opponents. The U.S. beat Bosnia-Herzegovina 2-0 on goals by Balogun and Malik Tillman for just its second World Cup knockout stage win. Balogun is eligible to play after FIFA suspended his suspension for a red card against Bosnia, a decision that followed a phone call from U.S. President Donald Trump to FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Looking for the perfect summer night? Head to Decatur and cheer on the Decatur Beanballers. Experience exciting summer collegiate baseball, affordable family fun, great promotions, and an unforgettable atmosphere at the ballpark. Get your tickets and schedule at beanballers.com and catch Decatur Beanballers highlights all summer long on IL SportsWire.
Finding a local job in Central Illinois has never been easier. Don't waste time driving far or spending too much on gas. Visit IllinoisJobPost.com. It's your one-stop site to find local, full-time, and part-time job openings. Best of all, it's completely free for job seekers to access anytime, day or night. So if you're ready to land a job close to home, make IllinoisJobPost.com your first stop. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. Brought to you by your friends at the regional radio station.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4-lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
WHOW is Central Illinois' ag station, and that includes providing farmers information on how the commodity markets close each day and week. I'm Todd Gleason from Illinois Public Media, University of Illinois Extension, inviting you to hear the daily closing market report weekday afternoons at 5:06, and on Saturdays, tune in for Commodity Week with a review of the week's markets at 8:30 in the morning, all on WHOW, AM, FM, and streamed online.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. It is a packed agenda for this week's NATO summit in Turkey, and President Trump will depart Washington later today for Ankara. He will be front and center at the gathering, which is to wrap up on Wednesday. Nearly 40 massive wildfires still going strong across the West. Most of them are scattered around Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. Flooding is a concern from parts of the Midwest to New England. And while there has been some relief from the oppressive heat for many, some parts of the East still dealing with that heat dome that's made for so much misery across a vast area in recent days. President Trump will ring this morning's opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. He'll do so remotely from the White House. And it is back to work today for Wall Street following the long holiday weekend. The Dow will be opening at a record high 52,900. More details at srnnews.com.
Are you carrying more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Do you feel like you're running on a financial treadmill, making payment after payment, month after month, yet never getting ahead? If you're tired of watching your hard-earned money disappear into interest charges, there may be options available to help you take back control of your finances. At Total Financial Freedom, they'll show you what qualified consumers may be able to save through programs designed to help them resolve debt faster than making minimum payments alone. The consultation is free, confidential, and comes with absolutely no obligation. Why spend years, sometimes decades, paying thousands in interest when there may be a better path forward? Total Financial Freedom is a Christian-owned company that has helped thousands of Americans pursue financial freedom for nearly 20 years and is proudly A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now and ask how you can receive a complimentary copy of The Debt Dietitian. Stop running in place. Start moving toward financial freedom at 866-744-7344. 866-744-7344.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local news update. Several new Illinois laws officially took effect on Wednesday, July 1st, bringing changes that could impact schools, families, workers, and drivers across central Illinois. One of the biggest changes involves early childhood programs. The newly created Illinois Department of Early Childhood is now taking over as the lead agency for several programs, including child care licensing, Head Start, early intervention services, home visiting programs, and child care assistance. State officials say the move is designed to create a more streamlined system for families and child care providers. A new education law also expands protections against bullying in Illinois schools. The updated law adds protections involving artificial intelligence, including situations where AI generated images or digital replicas are used without permission and cause harm similar to traditional bullying. Another change impacts senior drivers across Illinois. The Secretary of State's office is adjusting the process for certain older drivers completing required driving tests, changing how those screenings are handled moving forward. A temporary measure that began during the COVID-19 pandemic has also now been made permanent. Restaurants and bars that meet state requirements can continue selling cocktails and mixed drinks for pickup and delivery. The new laws also include changes affecting employment and state programs. Officials say the July 1st changes are part of a larger group of legislation passed by lawmakers and are intended to update state services, protections, and regulations. For Central Illinois residents, the biggest impacts are expected to be seen in schools, child care services, and programs that families rely on every day. For a full list of laws that took effect on July 1st in Illinois, visit ilga.gov. Under the Legislation and Laws menu, select Public Acts. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. High temperatures reach up to 82. Northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for storms tonight, lows level off around 64, partly cloudy skies. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, it's 69 degrees.
This is Seth Lawrence, station manager for the Heart Media Group here in Clinton. We take pride in being Clinton and Central Illinois' local radio stations each and every day, 7 days a week. What does local news mean? Here's a sample.
Well, we do appreciate the contacts that were made. And, we do take those seriously.
But yeah, all the chemicals are getting adjusted. One of the big things that we're running into is just staffing with the lifeguards.
What that'll do is that we will come flag your yard for the week before 4th of July, and then we'll come recollect them so you don't have to do anything.
We had a kiddo here that had a replica $100 bill, and I know it's replica without even touching it.
You hear the local people that make the news every day, 7 days a week. Follow WHOW on Facebook and Instagram to see the faces behind the voices and stay connected to your local community on WHOW and WEZC.
Insects have reigned since the dawn of time, adapted to their surroundings, experienced the harshest climates and toughest challenges until now. With 2 modes of action, Ridgeback insecticide delivers one devastating outcome for soybean aphids: extinction from your fields. They may have lived through it all, but they won't survive this. End soybean aphids reign at ridgeback.corteva.us.
Don't let a summer sniffle turn into a summer setback. Warner Hospital's walk-in clinic has you covered. No appointment necessary. Just walk in and be seen by our caring medical team. Warner Hospital Walk-in Clinic, right here when you need us.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone this morning is Jack Myers with Social Security. Jack, coming up on the 4th, my friend. First of all, are you staying cool out there? Goodness gracious, it is a burner lately.
Yeah, it is. We're at that point where as soon as you go outside, you need another shower, right?
If you're not soaked by the time you get there, yeah, it is something else out there, no doubt. I'll tell you what, Jack, let's dive into start us out here for this morning. It's a heavy topic, but I think it's worth starting with this morning. Protecting seniors from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. If it's all right, let's begin there. And what do you have for us, particularly as it relates to Social Security?
Yeah, last month we celebrated, Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And so that kind of got me thinking about some of our topics that we talk about and how that fits into that subject. And obviously the importance of safeguarding older adults. And so when it comes to Social Security, one of the things I think about are the scams that we often talk about. And so if we kind of think about how we need to protect America's seniors from abuse, neglect, and exploitation, and the shared responsibility that is, I think that's a good place to start in terms of Social Security. And that's something that we can all probably do a better job of. Family, friends, neighbors, caregivers, we can all make a meaningful difference in an older person's life. And these scams that target seniors are something that we need to talk more about. Scammers often impersonate government employees, and they try to target seniors with tactics that include calls, text, emails, messages claiming that there are issues with Social Security numbers or benefits. And they design these to create fear and urgency. So, a lot of our seniors really rely heavily on their monthly Social Security payments. And when you can create, as a scammer, when you can create a fear or a worry that those benefits might go away, that puts those seniors in a real vulnerable position. So I think what we need to do better is help people understand that that's not how Social Security works. We're not going to call a person up out of the blue and threaten to take away their benefits. We're not creating those panic-inducing moments. So if your loved one, your family member, your neighbor, your friend, whoever it is, if they're getting that type of call, help them to understand ahead of time that that's not real. That's not something that's happening. That's not something that we're going to do. And there was recently a campaign that was started to raise awareness about this called the Never Ever campaign. So that's kind of a good launching point for the discussion. Some key reminders: never ever will a government employee say your money isn't safe, move it to protect it. Never ever will a government employee threaten to suspend benefits if you don't pay immediately. And never ever will a government employee demand payment via apps, cryptocurrency, wire transfer, or gift cards. So these are just a few talking points that you can use. Maybe you're getting together at a barbecue this weekend for 4th of July. Have that conversation, talk to them about it, because unfortunately, people that we don't think would fall victim to these scams are. And it's really heartbreaking when you hear stories about people that have shifted what little, or in some cases great, life savings they might have into a different account, only to be taken advantage of and somebody steal that.
Yeah, no question. So keep those things in mind. I know we talk about that just in general when the conversation of scams comes around, for sure. So how about just our role as support systems for these individuals, Jack? What can we be doing, and how can we help these individuals?
Yeah, so there are things we can do. It starts with just staying connected, whether it's through calls, visits, check-ins, just talking to them, finding out what's going on, helping them understand that, hey, you're there for them if they have a question, and talking about these things that I've already mentioned. Those never evers are good talking points there. But you can also kind of watch for sudden changes in behavior. The more you're checking in and talking with them, the more you're going to be likely to notice. I know we all get busy in our day to day, but taking a few moments to just check in is really helpful. You'll notice those sudden changes. You may or may not have access to financial information. That's obviously going to depend on the relationship you have with that person. But if you notice changes in their living conditions, those are things to kind of look out for. If they're interested, you may offer to help review bills, mail suspicious messages, things like that. Again, that's going to be kind of contingent upon your relationship with them. But encourage safe online habits and scam awareness. Tell them to speak up if something doesn't seem right or feel right, and you do the same. If you see something that can really be a tough thing with our parents as we transition, our relationship with our parents transitions. um, going from child who receives advice to child who gives advice is kind of an awkward transition at times. But don't be hesitant to speak up if you see something that just doesn't seem right, because you really could save them a lot of angst and money and all that sort of stuff.
Sure, sure. Good advice as always. Well, Jack, on that note, anything we missed you want to put out there for us on that topic?
Well, again, just remember it starts with some sort of problem. Typically, the caller is trying to make them panic because they want to make them think that they're about to lose their money one way or another, and they need to take some sort of immediate action to prevent that. We don't do that. Okay. So that's just what you need to know. We don't do that. And if they're getting that kind of phone call or email or text, it is not legitimate.
Very good. Jack Myers, Social Security, is my guest on the Zoom or on the phone here for this morning. Jack, I'll tell you what. Let's dive into. Let's talk Social Security cards and updating our information. How about this? And what do we need to know?
Yeah. So, that's really the most common reason people visit Social Security offices. So, there are a lot of people on a daily basis who need to do something business wise with getting a Social Security card. Maybe you need a replacement card. Maybe you need a new card because some information changed. So, depending on what you need to do, and actually, Seth, in some cases where you need to do it, you may be able to complete your transaction completely online, or you may need to visit a Social Security office. Now, if you need to visit an office to complete your business, it's likely because we need to see documents. If that's the case, one of the things that you have to know, because this is very important, we can't accept photocopies of documents that are needed for Social Security card related business. So if you're coming to see us because you need to show us documents that we need to get a replacement card or change something with regard to your Social Security number, you got to have certified copies or originals. Don't bring photocopies, because that unfortunately will probably result in you having to come back another time. So we want this to be as easy as possible on you. So make sure you have those certified copies or originals. Another thing to be aware of is if you're going to have to visit an office for this type of business, we definitely recommend that you make an appointment to do that. So where do you start with all this? How do you know if you're going to need to come into the office? How do you know what you're going to need to bring? How do you make that appointment? Well, the best place to start is on our website at ssa.gov. Once you're there, we have a Social Security number and card page. It's pretty easy. Just go to ssa.gov and look for number and card. You'll find that. or you can navigate straight to it, ssa.gov/number-card. But again, it's probably easier to go to ssa.gov and then look for number and card once you're there. Once you get to that number and card page, we will ask you a few questions to determine what you're trying to accomplish. As you go through those questions, most of the time we're going to have you complete the application for the Social Security card related transaction. Once you submit that application, we'll either be able to process it online, or we'll guide you to schedule an appointment to visit a Social Security office. If you have to have that appointment, the nice thing about doing it online is you don't have to call us to schedule it. So you can do it tonight when you get home from work, or, off hours, over the long weekend, maybe if you have one, you can do it there. You don't have to call us during business hours to schedule that. If you do submit your application online, write the number down, because if you're going to have to come into the office, if you give us that number, we can pull it up and we'll be able to handle your application a lot faster. So, if you're wondering how you need to do it, or what determines if the application can be processed online, it's going to be kind of based on what you're doing. If you need a replacement card and you don't need to change anything, if you have a driver's license or state ID and you're 18 or older, you can typically do that straight through the website. So you won't have to come on into an office. But again, you don't have to know that going in, because as you go through those questions on the ssa.gov page, it will know if your situation is one that can be processed completely online or requires an appointment. And it'll just tell you that as you go through the process. So it's pretty easy, and it's the best way to start. Again, that's ssa.gov, and then look for number and card to get into that application process.
Sounds good. On that note, Jack, did we miss anything there? Anything further you want to put out there for us?
One other thing I guess I'll mention, if you've gotten married and chose to change your name, it is very important that you update your name on your Social Security card. So definitely something you're going to want to do. In some states, and this is what I was alluding to earlier when I said sometimes depending on where you are, in some states, unfortunately not Illinois yet, we can verify the proof of marriage electronically and process the application to do so online. One of the questions we'll ask when you go through that question and answer section I was talking about is, where did the marriage occur? If it's one of the states that we can verify electronically, we'll just push it right through. So we'll know, so it's really intuitive. It's a great process. Just so you kind of get an idea, some of the surrounding states where we can verify marriages electronically include Arkansas, Iowa, Kentucky, Michigan, Missouri, Wisconsin. So if you've gotten married in any of those states and your marriage certificate is from one of those, there are others, of course, but I just kind of picked ones that are nearby. If you've gotten married in any of those states, we'll be able to verify that marriage certificate electronically. If it was an Illinois marriage, we'll just have you schedule an appointment, come in with that marriage certificate, and we'll get you taken care of there.
Very good. Well, Jack, I'll tell you what, again, one more time, if you don't mind, throw out that website for folks to visit if they're listening this morning and they maybe caught it partially the first time. What's that full website for them?
Go to ssa.gov, and then once you're there, look for Social Security number and card.
Easy enough. Let's take a break, Jack. Come back with some more. Jack Myers, Social Security, my guest on the phone. More to come with Jack on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Monday. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. We start the day higher with corn, beans, and Chicago wheat. July corn opening 438 up 13. September corn up 12, 435, and December corn 454 3/4 up 13 1/4. July beans opening 1160 up 28 1/4. August beans up 30. 1166 1/4, and November beans 1181 3/4 up 34. July Chicago wheat 593 1/4 up 2 3/4. July KC wheat down 3 1/2, 623 1/2. July bean meal up 610, 313.80. July bean oil up $1.31, 68.26. Energy market September Brent crude oil down a nickel, 72.07. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
This is Inside Out.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
Here's Matt Hart, owner of the Hart Media Group in Clinton, talking about continuing to serve the community through new ownership.
Things came together and we reached an agreement to purchase. And as you mentioned, we closed August the 1st. So as August the 1st, Miller Media Group is now Hart Media Group. And we're continuing to serve the people of Clinton and DeWitt County and Monticello and Bloomington and Decatur and everywhere, because we'll just keep connecting people as we've been doing.
The Hart Media Group looks forward to continuing to serve the community for years to come. You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone this morning is Jack Myers with Social Security. And Jack, I'll tell you what, let's continue the conversation talking about survivor benefits for children. What do we need to know here, my friend?
Yeah, again, when we started the conversation and you mentioned a heavy topic, I kind of thought this was where you might be heading, because it's never fun to talk about death or losing a parent and that sort of thing. Obviously it's one of the most difficult experiences that a child can face. Along with the emotional challenges, families often must navigate new financial realities. And, obviously we can't help with the emotional side of it at Social Security, but we may be able to help with the financial side of it, because what you may not realize is that Social Security can help support children through monthly survivor benefits. So who would be eligible for monthly survivor benefits from a child's perspective? We're not talking about other types right now. We're just kind of focusing on children. If a parent worked and paid into Social Security, their surviving children should be eligible for a monthly survivor benefit. In order to qualify, the surviving child must be unmarried and under the age of 18, or unmarried and under the age of 19, but still a full-time high school student, or unmarried and disabled before age 22. So what will they get? Well, the amount of monthly survivor benefits that are payable are going to be determined by the work record of the deceased parent and the number of eligible children or spouse, other people receiving benefits on the record. Because there's something called a family max, which determines the most we can pay out on a record. So that's why the number of people collecting off that record comes into play. But as a parent, I think one of the things we all want to do is, make sure that our kids are always provided for. In most cases, that's through what we're doing, working, whatever, and paying for them. But it's also comforting to know what would happen or what would be available to them if we pass away. So if you want to know what your children may receive if you die, you can find that info within your own personal My Social Security account. So you go to ssa.gov, look for My Social Security, create your account. Once you create your account, you will see how much your children would qualify for if you pass away. And I think that's a really important piece of information to have, because especially for new parents, one of the things that you start looking at is, well, what do I need to do for life insurance? How much do I need to have? How much do I need to pay? But you may not realize that you already pay life insurance in a way. It's not directly the same thing, but in a way, you already purchase life insurance when you pay your Social Security taxes every single time you get a paycheck. So take a look at that My SSA account, see how much your kids would qualify for, because you may have more protection than you really realize just through those Social Security benefits.
Very good. Very good. One more time, Jack, how do folks learn more about that?
You can go to ssa.gov. Once you're there, look for My Social Security, set up that account, You'll see what your kids could qualify for in survivor benefits, but you'll get a lot more too. You'll see what you could qualify for down the road in retirement, get estimates at different ages. So lots of good info there within the My Social Security account.
Sure, very good. And speaking of Social Security, the website, Jack, let's dive into just generally to wrap us up here the last few minutes. Talk about SSA.gov, what we can find there, and maybe even some ways that folks can get questions answered. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and this is kind of a joke that I've made through the years. It's Social Security is a really good coffee shop talk subject, but the problem with coffee shop talk when it comes to Social Security is everybody's situation is a little bit different, and sometimes those nuances cause big differences. So while your friends mean well, what they tell you may not actually be 100% right for you. So what I recommend is go straight to the source. Go to ssa.gov, our website, and find out information, read about it, learn about it. A couple places that I would encourage you to start. Number one would be our frequently asked questions page. So if you just go to ssa.gov/FAQ for frequently asked question, you'll get topics such as how to get help from Social Security, what to do if you receive a suspicious call claiming to be from Social Security, must I pay taxes on Social Security benefits, working while receiving Social Security retirement benefits, all of our kind of top heavy hitter type questions. But then you can also search by subject. So you can look for disability, SSI, retirement, spousal benefits, Medicare. So you can kind of sort through the info that way. But you can also look for our publications page. So if you go to ssa.gov/pubs, you can find our digital library of pamphlets and things like that. So lots of good information there. ssa.gov is the place to start if you've got a question, anything Social Security related.
Jack, you always bring good stuff to the table, my friend. It's always good to talk to you. Enjoy your 4th. Safe travels if you're out, and we'll catch you next month, all right?
All right, same to you, Seth. Thanks for having me on.
Jack Myers, Social Security, is my guest on the phone. Network News comes your way now on the morning show.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.5 FM Bloomington Normal.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. A court appearance this week for the accused killer of a rising star of the conservative movement.
A 5-day preliminary hearing is scheduled to start Monday for Tyler Robinson, the 23-year-old man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk last September 10th, while Kirk was addressing a crowd of thousands at Utah Valley University. Kirk's widow and parents are expected to be in court in Utah, and the hearing will be live streamed. The proceedings focus on whether there's enough evidence to try Robinson for aggravated murder and whether the death penalty is warranted, which the prosecution is requesting. They say DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger of the rifle used to kill Kirk, as well as the fired cartridge casing, 2 unfired cartridges, and a towel used to wrap the weapon. Robinson has not entered a plea. I'm Donna Warner.
At least 24 deaths are blamed on the punishing heat wave that gripped such a large swath of the country.
After days of dangerous record-breaking heat across the East Coast, Southeast, and Southwest, officials are reporting a rising death toll and say many victims were found in homes without air conditioning. The storms left nearly 1 million customers across several states without power and raised the threat of flash flooding as scorching temperatures give way to the threat of powerful storms, widespread outages, and flooding concerns. Ken Lorman reporting.
Later this hour, President Trump will ring the Wall Street opening bell. He will do so remotely from the Oval Office. It's aimed at drawing attention to Trump accounts, encouraging investment on behalf of newborns. Later today, Mr. Trump departs for Turkey and the annual NATO summit. That will wrap up on Wednesday. Russia launched yet another drone and missile attack on Ukraine overnight. Hitting the capital, Kiev, the strikes killed at least 18 people, injured many more. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at two different options: debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
International shipping, risky business in some parts of the world these days.
A cargo ship has come under attack off the coast of Yemen in the Red Sea. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center reported the attack off of Yemen. The UK MTO says the ship was reportedly under attack by unknown armed assailants. The UK MTO also says authorities are investigating and no group immediately claimed the attack. Yemen's Houthi rebels have threatened to begin attacking ships again, though they have not been carrying out any attacks. Somali pirates also have been active further away in the Gulf of Aden recently. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
The Philippine Senate has started the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Politically volatile event will unfold against backdrop of her bitter feud with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Thousands of police officers have been deployed to secure the Senate. News and analysis, townhall.com. The White House has a problem with those entrusted with overseeing the national treasure that's known as America's attic.
A report released late on Independence Day by the White House Domestic Policy Council calls leadership at the Smithsonian Institution radical activists who cannot be trusted, especially at the National Museum of American History. And the report indicates that President Donald Trump may be getting ready to install his own team. In March, Trump said he intended to force changes at the Smithsonian with an executive order targeting funding programs that advanced dismissive narratives and improper ideology. Donna Warder, Washington.
UK-based TV, internet, and mobile phone provider Sky, which is owned by Comcast, has agreed to buy ITV's media and entertainment arm for up to $2.1 billion. Deal comes after months of talks to create major competitor to the global streaming giants. More on these stories, townhall.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. High temperatures reach up to 82. Northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for storms tonight, lows level off around 64, partly cloudy skies. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, it's 69 degrees.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
Don't let a summer sniffle turn into a summer setback. Warner Hospital's walk-in clinic has you covered. No appointment necessary. Just walk in and be seen by our caring medical team. Warner Hospital Walk-in Clinic, right here when you need us.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
AgriTalk is the radio talk show for American agriculture. Hi, everybody. I'm Chip Flory, your host. We join you weekday mornings from 10 until 11 on WHOW, on AM and FM, and on the WHOW streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois' Ag Station, WHOW.
WHOW is Central Illinois' ag station, and that includes providing farmers information on how the commodity markets close each day and week. I'm Todd Gleason from Illinois Public Media, University of Illinois Extension, inviting you to hear the daily closing market report weekday afternoons at 5:06, and on Saturdays, tune in for Commodity Week with a review of the week's markets at 8:30 in the morning, all on WHOW, AM, FM, and streamed online.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show. It's your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today is Andrea Coker. She's the Director of Services with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County. Andrea, always good to see you. How are you today?
You too, Seth. I'm great. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Thanks for making time for us. I know, like last month, summer very busy time for Willow Tree Missions, and we're gonna talk about kind of a very I don't want to say niche subject, but just maybe a piece of DV that we don't really dive into a whole lot, and that is co-parenting after leaving a domestic violence situation and relationship. So what are the basics of this conversation, and we'll kind of expand from there, unpack from there. What do you got for us?
For sure. So in most relationships, or oftentimes in relationships, there are children that belong to two partners. So there's a big push, or there's a big expectation that people, whenever they separate, are going to co-parent their children together. I think that's a really healthy expectation. Whenever that works well, it's fabulous for all parties. And in most situations, whenever relationships end, when there are children involved, that is an excellent goal to work toward. However, we cannot have the same expectation of people who end or leave a domestic violence relationship. So sometimes we as society put a lot of pressure on victims of domestic violence by setting an expectation that they need to be able to co-parent. And then on the flip side of that, also then that expectation becomes that they need to continue to be abused by their partner long after the relationship ends, just because they have children together. And so part of my job, or part of what we do, is to plan for those circumstances and plan for those interactions. And I think the biggest piece is acknowledging that just because you are able to safely leave your relationship doesn't mean you're always able to safely stay away from your abuser if there are children involved. So acknowledging it's a really big piece, and then beyond that, kind of what it looks like, what people can do, and how we can help, or how they can help themselves in those circumstances.
You know, a lot of people may hear that, Andrea, and they're like, why does the abuser even get access to the kids?
Absolutely. That is, gosh, it's such a tricky one. So sometimes they don't. It just depends case by case. Every situation is different on what that abuse looked like. We are really fortunate in the state of Illinois, or at least historically have been, that domestic violence in the presence of children is taken very seriously by agencies in our area. Sometimes maybe to the extreme, but I would rather them be extreme than not cover it at all. There's a widespread acceptance that children who live in a household where domestic violence is present has a profound effect on children. A lot of parents think they do a really good job of hiding it from their kids. Kids know. They don't have to be in the same room to know. They can hear through walls just like you can. Kids can read a room. They can pick up on energies that are happening from both parties. Just like we can walk into a room and feel tension, so can children. And if they are living in that state, they know that it's going on. While we can definitely accept that parents oftentimes do a good job of not being in the same room as their children, it doesn't eliminate that their children know that it's going on. So in the world of physical violence, if that takes place in front of your children or whenever your children are in any way present, the state of Illinois will step in and make sure that you protect your children. So it's kind of one piece of that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's get into it. And one thing you said to me off the air before we got started that really struck me is as co-parenting happens, the abuser will still try to maintain control, manipulate whatever tactic they pursue. They will try to continue that over their victim, even after they've left the relationship, when there's co-parenting involved. What does that look like, Andrea?
Absolutely. Yep. So as we've talked about so many times, domestic violence is rooted in power and control. It's all about power and control. It's all about control of their victim. So one way to maintain control is to continue controlling their now ex-partner through communications about their children, through forced communication in general because they have children together, drop-off times, pickup times. It can be little things like showing up 20 minutes late to a designated pickup area just to cause upheave, so that it's just trying to maintain some of that power and control, because abusive people like to maintain their power. They're willing to use anything to continue to maintain that power, even after the relationship ends. It's really important to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Andrea Coker, again, Director of Services at Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County, our guest on the Zoom here for today. We talk about safety planning, Andrea, in the context of leaving a relationship, but there's also you say there's safety planning in co-parenting. What does that look like?
Absolutely. So we try to safety plan every scenario, every situation, every interaction, every piece of a survivor's life.
Okay.
So as far as safety planning with co-parenting, a really big tool that doesn't work across the board, but we've seen a lot of success with, is communication apps. There are literally phone apps that are like designed for this, where ultimately all communication is stored so that a third party can go through it if necessary, ultimately to hold both parties accountable. So that if it's agreed upon in a divorce or in a child custody agreement that we are only going to communicate about our children, that way we can maintain a healthy relationship for our kids to the best of our ability, using communication apps will help maintain that, will help hold each person accountable, if for no other reason than because somebody else can see it if necessary. So that's a really big tool that a lot of people use. The downfall of them is that they are not free. There's a cost associated, and that can be tricky for some people. But it is a tool. It's one piece of a tool that we try to use. Another one is pick-up and drop-off plans. So if you were in a pretty severely DV relationship, but in my opinion, any kind of DV relationship, we try to have plans for pickup and drop off, in part to mitigate any kind of risk to the kiddos seeing their parents interacting in a negative way. That can include like a whole number of things. Some cases are so severe where these pickups and drop-offs need to take place with law enforcement present, like at the sheriff's department or at the police department every week or every month or whenever that is. That can sometimes just be the meeting place. Sometimes it's just a public place. Where that's enough in some relationships. Sometimes it's always having a family member or a friend or an agreed upon transfer party so that the two never see each other. All of those things we try to work out in our custody agreements so that the abusive party can't negate them, can't say no. We try to include any of those things that are going to keep everybody safe up front and get ahead of the problem.
Yeah. Now, how about communication with children when they're at the abusers, when they're with the abuser during this co-parenting stage?
Absolutely. So we try. It's something that it's in the forefront of our minds because we do this every day. Whereas people who are freshly leaving a relationship, it may not be. So say, for example, my kids are with me, my kids are at my house, and I've left my abusive partner. The reality is my kids are going to be able to maintain a relationship with their other parent, even when they're in my presence. Depending on the age of the kids, that can mean it has to go through me. So again, we try to get ahead of it through safety planning at the beginning of the relationships and through the parenting plan to set parameters around how abusive parties can contact the other party.
Okay.
Whether that be every phone call can be recorded. Sometimes that's necessary. Or that they're going to call at a certain time and a certain date, like every Tuesday at 5. That way plans can be made around that. There are other cases where it is less severe. And so we try to tailor whatever is going to be necessary to mitigate any risk of further abuse through the children or to their ex-partner, but still allow a relationship with parents if it is safe to do so.
Now, I venture a guess there's a circumstance, Andrea, where the kids don't want to be with the abuser. And I'm sure that's difficult to navigate because the abuser probably thinks, the victim is putting this in their heads. The victim is probably hurt because, they understand maybe the importance of we'll just say because of the sake of statistics, dad needs to be in their life, that sort of thing. They recognize that importance. I don't know. How does one navigate that circumstance?
It's hard. That's the answer. It's hard. So ultimately the goal of parent-child relationships is that both parents work toward not creating distance. The end goal for a healthy child is going to be ultimately to create a safe space for your children. If that means that you need to use the legal system to advocate that your children are not safe with your partner, that's an okay thing to do. It's okay to walk away from the societal norms and say, but my kids aren't safe there, and help play that out.
Sure.
The other thing that is important is no matter how much you dislike your spouse, if your children are safe with them, it is your obligation as a parent to help provide them with the ability to learn them on their own. Children just need to be safe. The downfall of that is that sometimes they aren't and you don't win. So you have to just be their safe space when they are with you and try to mitigate those interactions as much as you can so that we can continue to advocate for your children being with you more often or being safe or whatever that needs to look like.
Sure. Very good. Very good. You may have touched on this and I missed it. I apologize. Parallel parenting versus co-parenting. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Absolutely. I did not hit on it yet. So parallel parenting basically is allowing both parents to parent their children in their own way. So a lot of times, especially in domestic violence relationships, their households have two very different norms. There comes a point, oftentimes in DV relationships, where you cannot hold your abusive partner to the same standard that you have for your children at your house. So while it is incredibly difficult to do, there becomes a time when you just have to parent differently based on which house your children are in. It is your obligation to provide a safe space for your kids. It is the best, we'll say, medicine for this scenario is that they know they have a safe and loving place to land. And by creating that in your home, it is the best that you can do because you can't control what's happening at their other parent's house as long as it's legal and the court system doesn't intervene.
Right.
So letting go of the expectation of parenting the same because you need to limit your exposure to your ex-abusive partner and instead accepting that you are going to do what's best for your kids at your house.
Sure. Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, on that note, Andrea, let's go to break. How do folks learn about all things Willow Tree Missions, take advantage of your services, those things? Where do they go? Who do they call?
For sure. They can find us online at willowtreemissions.org or call or text me directly at 217-762-2333. 2350.
Andrea Coker, again, Director of Services with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County, my guest on the Zoom today. More to come with Andrea on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW. Hey, it's Shane from Highway 51 Exchange, your mower and equipment service pros just south of Clinton. Click our banner ad on DeWittDailyNews.com or give us a call to schedule your free pickup and delivery today. Highway 51 Exchange.
Spring brings brighter days and more time to enjoy them. Your home should too. At Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth, enjoy one-story living and walking paths right outside your door. Spend less time on upkeep and more time enjoying spring. To learn more, click our IHOM at DeWittDailyNews.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about back-to-school preparations. Part of getting your kids ready for the new school year means making sure they're healthy. SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back-to-school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine. Forward for you. Finding the right employees can be a real challenge these days, whether you're hiring full-time or part-time. That's where the regional radio stations come in. We're here to help you connect with the qualified candidates you need. Check out IllinoisJobPost.com. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. It's part of our comprehensive radio and internet employment campaign designed to get your job openings noticed. For details, just reach out to your account manager. Put the power of radio and the internet to work for you at IllinoisJobPost.com.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guest on the Zoom today is Andrea Coker, Director of Services with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County. You know, Andrea, one thing you say a lot in these conversations is kids know. Kids pick up on things, all of that. And so I wonder, you know, how do kids handle this co-parenting, having to live with mom, but also live with mom's abuser and all those things, and, you know, watch mom recover and put her life back together and all of that. How does that impact kids from that standpoint?
For sure. So I think the biggest thing to know is that by nature, kids are resilient. Kids feed off of adults. Kids feed off of other things in their lives. But at the end of the day, kids are resilient. I think it's also important to know, though, that kids learn their behaviors from the relationships that they witness. So living in a domestic violence relationship or maintaining a domestic violence relationship with your children present is teaching your children that that's what love looks like. That this is what relationships look like. We can talk to our kids about how I want to make sure you're never in a situation like I'm in, or it isn't okay the way mom talks to me, or it isn't okay the way dad talks to me. But at the end of the day, they are watching mom and dad all the time. Mm-hmm. So if they are seeing mom or dad stay in this relationship that's unhealthy, that they can pick up on, they know it's going on. We are ultimately teaching children then that this is what love looks like, and this is what love feels like. Mm-hmm. So on the flip side of that, by leaving the relationship, we are then teaching children, this is what it looks like to get away. This is what you should do in these situations. This is how you restart. This is how you rebuild. And then you teach the resilience. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, no matter how much you try to hide what's really going on in your house, your kids know. They are not naive. Even young children can pick up on the energy. They know what anger looks like. They know what emotions look like. Oftentimes they are confused. And the biggest piece is that when a relationship does end and the domestic violence stops, children almost always feel relief. They are just grateful not to be in that environment anymore. Even if the world outside of that home isn't perfect, they're just grateful that it isn't domestic violence anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hitting home with that one. Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what, Andrea. On that note, what can parents do to maintain consistency in a big transition like this?
Absolutely. Things that seem really small, by starting simple routines like eating meals together at a similar time, bedtime rituals, kind of predictable schedules, so that in a world where kids have been living in an unpredictable world, they can start to feel a sense of normalcy and something that they can predict and that they can have an expectation and then have comfort whenever those things happen, while also having an understanding that life continues to happen too. But anytime we can make kids feel safe and secure and know that how they are feeling is really a priority at this point, can really go a long way for kids. The other big piece is we just have to remind kids that it isn't their fault. A lot of times abusive people will also blame children, either openly or implied. So continuing to remind every child that none of this is your fault. None of it has anything to do with you, can alleviate some of that feeling of guilt.
Sure. Andrea, I got about 1 minute with you. Do you mind just quickly running down how folks can either get a hold of you or someone at Willow Tree Missions to safety plan during co-parenting?
Absolutely. We can be found online, willowtreemissions.org, where you can find resources for us and for anyone else in this area. If you're experiencing something and don't know where to land, you can at least start there, or you can call or text me directly at 217-762-2350.
Very good. And I know your thrift store is a good resource as well. Can you highlight that for us?
Absolutely. We operate 2 thrift locations, both in Monticello, one at 351 West Monroe Street and 100 East Washington, downtown Monticello, where ultimately we support ourselves. That's how we keep our doors open, is by selling things through our resale shop, but also anyone who's experiencing a domestic violence situation. That's also how we help people rebuild their lives by products donated through our resale shops.
Very good. Andrea, you always bring great stuff to the table. Thanks as always for making time for us.
You bet.
And happy 4th, by the way. Your shirt is
you too.
Yeah.
I'm very 4th of July.
You are very good. Andrea Coker, Director of Services with Willow Tree Missions, is my guest on the Zoom here for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Network news comes your way next on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. There is uncertainty today over the future of global oil supplies as talks with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz are on hold. They've been suspended during days-long funeral ceremonies for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Oil prices slipping as some members of the OPEC Plus cartel decided to raise their output, that effective next month. Meanwhile, the latest AAA national average for regular gas, $3.79 a gallon. That's down 1 penny from yesterday. President Trump will leave later today for Turkey. He'll be attending the annual NATO summit. That runs through Wednesday. Last year, he had pushed NATO allies to spend more on defense. This year, his mission, to try to enforce those pledges that were made. At least a dozen people killed in Russia's latest round of overnight missile and drone strikes on the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. More details, srnnews.com.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the 4 walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone, get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those those who qualify, including VA benefit.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local news update. The McLean County Museum of History is almost set to unveil a new temporary exhibit about the local impacts of history of baseball and softball. Candace Summers, Senior Director of Education at the museum, explains that More Than a Game, a community history of baseball and softball, will be the latest rotating exhibit on display when it opens on July 18th. She says it was no trouble to find relevant history right in McLean County and its communities.
Yeah, so we're super excited to be unveiling our next temporary exhibit, although it'll be up for 5 years, so I don't know how temporary that is. But it's a changing exhibit that will be up that's called More Than a Game, a community history of baseball and softball. And baseball and softball have a really rich and vast history in Bloomington Normal. We've had baseball teams, since the pre-Civil War, and then of course softball coming towards, the 20th century. And we've had minor league teams. We've had players go on to the big leagues. We have a 19th century baseball player that still holds a record to this day, Charles Old Hoss Radburn, who pitched 59 winning games in one season in 1884.
Wow.
So it helps. He was the only pitcher for the team for part of the season, but still a record. One of the few 19th century baseball players in Cooperstown. And so we're going to be exploring not just, who the players were and the history of the teams, but what issues came up in the games of baseball and softball, because it very much mirrored what was going on nationally and politically, where you had the race divisions, where Black players weren't allowed to play with white players for quite a long time. Women breaking the barrier into softball, Title IX, things like that. And of course, lots of fun activities to kick off that exhibit when we open it on July 18th.
Summers says they have many interesting artifacts that were passed down through generations and then donated by community members to preserve not only the piece, but the memory of the family. As the grand opening of this exhibit on July 18th grows closer, we'll hear more from Summers on the event and the activities that will be hosted in honor of the display. In the meantime, learn more at mchistory.org or find the McLean County Museum of History on Facebook. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com from your computer or your mobile device, DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms. Today, otherwise cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. High temperatures reach up to 82. Northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for storms. Tonight, lows level off around 64. Partly cloudy skies. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, it's 70 degrees.
Don't let a summer sniffle turn into a summer setback. Whether it's a cold cough, rash, scrape, bug bite, or minor injury, Warner Hospital's walk-in clinic has you covered. No appointment necessary. Just walk in and be seen by our caring medical team. Fast, convenient care. Close to home means less time waiting, more time enjoying summer. Warner Hospital Walk-in Clinic. Right here when you need us.
Insects have reigned since the dawn of time, adapted to their surroundings, experienced the harshest climates and toughest challenges until now. With 2 modes of action, Ridgeback insecticide delivers one devastating outcome for soybean aphids: extinction from your fields. They may have lived through it all, but they won't survive this. End soybean aphids reign at ridgeback.corteva.us.
Here's Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson on how he works to save you money every day.
I know the retails at the stores indicator probably better than most of the people in the stores know. I monitor this closely so customers do not have to. And then you don't have to spend $40 or $30 driving round trip at 60 cents a mile to Decatur or Lincoln or Bloomington. That's real numbers. It's 60, 70 cents a mile to drive your car.
And as Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson always says,
hope to see you soon.
SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back to school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show. Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today, Paul Scourin, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services. Paul, good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Seth. I'm doing fine.
Summer allergies hitting you hard at all this year?
You know, I think I told you before, I decided I'm not going to take allergy pills this year. So far, it's worked out, but with these kind of storms that are coming in right now, the sinus pressure is a lot, and I might have to cave in as we get into July here.
Sure.
With the tassels and the corn growing and all that.
Yeah.
Central Illinois.
Yep.
Can be brutal to allergies.
Yes, indeed.
We'll
yes,
see.
indeed. Yep. See how long we can hold out, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I've kind of taken that approach myself. Can we make it through? We'll see if we can. So very good. Very good. Well, Paul, I know as we talked this morning, you know, I was thinking back on our last conversation when we were prepping here for what you want to talk about. And, you know, I remember asking you in I don't know, May, mid to late May, is anything new coming to the hospital, working on new partnerships? And I know that's always kind of top of mind for you and how we expand services in Clinton and continue to serve the community. How about just the importance of those? And then we'll dive into the expansion of an ongoing partnership. How about it?
That's great. Yes, the success of the hospital, you know, we are one of the last independently owned rural hospitals. However, that success is really born on our partnerships. And I can go through a long list of partnerships. Think about our radiology reading for our x-rays, our imaging. That's done by Decatur Memorial's radiologists. And few people know that. When we look at the specialty clinic, we've talked about the opening of the West End and the access for the specialty clinic, but the success of the number of specialists that come to this specialty clinic really has taken many years. And we can look at HSHS's Prairie Heart and Dr. Murphy. He's there twice a week seeing patients. We've got Dr. Clark, the GI from Bloomington Normal, coming there twice a week. And the number of specialists from Gibson Area Hospital has increased dramatically in the last year, with a neurologist, Dr. Tazuddin, and the urologists that have joined us recently, Dr. Pena, Dr. Farshad, the rheumatologist, and Dr. Keller, the orthopod, and a number of others from Gibson area, Dr. Glickstein, the ear, nose, and throat, who just doubled the time he's seeing patients because of the demand from our family medicine primary care doctors. So these things take time to build a reputation of having a stable of specialists that the family medicine doctors can rely on and the public becomes aware of. So having said all that, an expansion of our partnership is Dr. Sid Rorscheid. He has had Illinois Bariatric as his practice, specializing in bariatrics for years and years. He is bringing that practice into family medicine. And I'm really excited about this because what he's also going to be doing is expanding his general surgical practice. And our ability to leverage that is something we haven't been able to do in the past, as far as what our emergency room transfers out, the kind of general surgical procedures that we transfer out. Dr. Roshai will now be available to take call from the emergency room. So Dr. Roshai will be here, and he'll be taking care of, in general, abdominal pain issues related to adhesions, gallbladder, any type of hernia you can think of. He has done these kind of surgeries over time at our hospital, but not in concert necessarily with the emergency room. So this is something, this coordinated care is something that we're working on with him. And he'll take patients to surgery to remove adhesions, gallbladders, and he can excise cysts and lipomas in the clinic or in the OR. But he's also brought his entire bariatric practice into Warner. So these things called sleeve gastrectomy procedures and lap bands, these are specific languages for bariatric patients, overweight patients, and so forth. But those have declined as GLP-1 drugs have become, popular.
Yeah, sure.
And that's why it is a great time for us to help him expand his general surgical procedures at Warner Hospital and coordinate with Warner's ER for things like abdominal pain, appendicitis, appendectomies, emergency gallbladder removal, small bowel obstructions, food gets stuck. We've handled those things in the emergency room, but then transferred those patients to the larger hospitals. And he will be on call with the emergency room to take care of those procedures. So here is a new partnership that we're very excited about. And this will take time to grow, just like all of the other specialists that have joined us over the years.
Gotcha. Now, was he with Warner at one time? Am I remembering that right?
He's always had privileges at Warner for the last 20 years.
Okay.
But the amount of procedures that he did here were by and large the bariatric type procedures and GI type procedures in concert with Dr. Clark. But now he'll be expanding those other general procedures.
Gotcha. Very good. Warner Hospital CEO Paul Skowron in studio with us here for this morning. Paul, I know you do a lot of things like advertise with us to promote, new specialists and the services of the hospital and those sorts of things. Is it also largely just word of mouth, or are there other ways to grow, the folks that come in and grow the I guess the community's utilization of the hospital? How about that side of it?
Yes. Besides radio, we do access Facebook for sure. But word of mouth is really important when folks find out, we have advertised the new access on the west side, but it's until people actually have the opportunity to park right next to the specialty clinic and walk right in. I watch every day, and I come out and help sometimes with the patients that are in wheelchairs or are trying to get out of their car as they're being dropped off, and they've got canes and so forth. So I like to help them get up the stairs. But just to walk right in and be able to sit down and have the staff from the specialty clinic greet them, that kind of experience gets out in the community, and it takes time, but they spread the word. And then as those patients come to see their family medicine specialist, they discussed what they've seen over at the specialty clinic. And so they're able to have a broader discussion of the type of specialists that we have here.
Very good. So an expansion of the partnership with Dr. Rorscheib is coming to Clinton, and sounds like he'll be very available to the facility and those sorts of things. In addition to that, I know, Paul, these things are always ongoing for you, but anything you're focused on in terms of whether it's services, the community needs that you're trying to bring, any updates there for what could be next along those lines?
Okay. Well, we are operating at budget. but that's basically a break-even budget. We have a $42 million budget, and our revenue is matching our expenses. But looking forward, and we factor some of this into the budget, is the $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts that are coming that will start to bite harder in 2027, effective January 1, 2027. What the government has done is issued rural healthcare transformation grants. We have applied for those grants. We won't know until July if we were successful, but if we are, we have a list of service expansions that we would like to explore. For instance, right now we do infusion therapy, but it is not for cancer. It is not oncology. It is not chemotherapy. We think we are capable of that, but we need these grants to be successful so we can have consultants explore whether or not our pharmacy director believes that we are capable of expanding in those directions. So those kind of things are not in the budget, but they are the type of service expansions that I'm looking to explore in the future.
Yeah. You talked about that $1 trillion cut to Medicaid. How impactful is that going to be for the hospital?
So 25% of our patients are Medicaid. 50% are Medicare. The other 25% are commercial insurances of many kinds. And so we don't know the total impact on our Medicaid patients yet. But in addition, there is the reduction of ACA coverage for the employers that buy their own insurance. That will hit harder. Their premiums will go up in January 1, 2027. So all of these things is a matter of access to care for patients who, and in general, across the country, we're already seeing patients hold back on necessary care, preventative care and things like that. So we factored some of that into the budget, but it is really hard to predict in a particular community what the impact will be.
Got it.
And that's why these partnership expansions are so important.
Right, exactly. Grow that revenue, right?
Right.
To make up for that shortfall. Makes a lot of sense. Very good. Paul, on that note, I look at the clock. We could use a break. Did I miss anything in that conversation? Whether it's cuts, whether it's budget, whether it's partnerships? Did I miss anything in all that you want to put out there for us?
No, well done.
Very good. Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services, is my guest in studio here this morning. Take a break. More to come with Paul on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all higher. July corn up 15 3/4, 440 3/4. September corn up 13 3/4, 436 3/4. December corn 456.5 up 15. July beans up 35 3/4, 1167.5. August beans up 35.5, 1171 3/4. November beans up 40.5, 1188 1/4. July Chicago wheat 603.5 up 13. July KC wheat up 7, 634. July bean meal 316.70 up $9. July bean oil up $1.40, 68.35. Livestock trade August feeders 360.75 up 12 cents. August live cattle up 72 cents, 239.92. July lean hogs unchanged, 93.85. Energy market, September Brent crude oil 72.04, down 8 cents.
Spring just has a way of putting a little more energy into everything. Brighter days, warmer air, and more reasons to get out and enjoy it. Your home should keep up with that. At Hickory Point Garden Homes, you'll have your own one-story duplex with bright open spaces, a private patio, and neighborhood walking paths just outside your door for that perfect stroll in the spring sunshine. You can spend less time managing your home and more time enjoying the warm spring days ahead. See what that feels like at Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth, Illinois, and step into comfortable living for 55 and better.
The Illinois Emergency Management Agency has designated WHOW's many platforms on AM and FM, as well as WEZC 95.9 FM, as standby radio stations for emergency messages to be sent for severe weather, as well as for the Clinton Power Station. We also have a direct link to the National Weather Service for watches or warnings to air immediately when they're issued. Keep yourself and your family safe by tuning into the WHOW platforms on AM, FM, or streamed online, as well as on WEZC 95.9 FM.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guest in studio today is Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services. And Paul, I tell you what, a couple of things to put on the radar of folks. Let's start with the Foundation annual golf outing. When is this? Where is this? What do we need to know?
So the golf outing had originally been planned for late August, but an opportunity came open at the Clinton Country Club for Friday, July 17th. So we jumped on that. And so that's coming up pretty quick. Friday, July 17th, 8:30 registration, 9:30 tee off, lunch provided. So the Warner Hospital Health Services Foundation is the one that's putting this together. And it's actually Ryan Utterback that is overseeing this and had coordinated this for us. He's at 217-620-5332 if anyone would like to contact Ryan Utterback. But we also, on our Facebook page for the foundation, we've got all the details of the golf outing.
Gotcha. How much is it? What are some of the perks of the outing this year? What do we got going on, Paul?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Since it's just terrible, but because I'm not a golfer, I don't pay attention to what it would cost to register.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's why looking at our Facebook page or calling Ryan Utterback is the better option.
Sure. So Foundation Golf Outing comes up on July the 17th. And Paul, you mentioned it, the foundation. I know they support the hospital in so many ways. Just talk about their support and what it means to the hospital.
So in addition to providing equipment that is not budgeted, that might come up as an emergency or other expansions in the past, equipment for the physical therapy department and so forth. The foundation provides scholarships for the high school students, those that indicate that they are going to pursue a health-related career. And so in May, I think $8,000 worth of scholarships were provided to a number of students. And that's always helpful to tie the community into remembering Warner Hospital and Health Services, and we hope that those students will someday come back and practice in Clinton and in DeWitt County.
It's an investment in the future, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, sure. And I know they've helped in a material way as well. If I'm not mistaken, like signages and equipment. What are some of the ways the foundation has helped the hospital in those areas?
You're right. You're bringing to mind wheelchairs for the emergency room. Exam tables, specialty exam tables for large patients in family practice and in the walk-in clinic. Over time, there's just a whole bunch of amenities in the hospital that one can attribute to the foundation. And now I'm going back all the way 11 years ago. 3D mammography. They were very instrumental in providing the equipment for 3D mammography.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and again, in addition to those things, I know, when folks apply for financial aid and the like, that also comes from the foundation, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You're absolutely right. For patients that come through the family medicine and perhaps an expensive prescription comes up that insurance will not cover and they can't afford it, there is a fund within the foundation and we can access that fund for the patient.
Sure. Very good. So one more time, Paul, if you don't mind, the when and the where and how folks get information on your golf outing.
So the golf outing for Warner Hospital and Health Services Foundation is Friday, July 17th in the morning. Registration starts at 8:30. Tee off is at 9:30. Lunch provided, 18 holes, and it is on the foundation's Facebook page. We also have Ryan Utterback as a contact, 217-620-5332.
Very good. Check it out. Be a part of that. Is there a deadline to register? I don't know if we mentioned that or not.
No. You can take your chances and wait till 8:30 of that day.
All right.
But it's always best to register
ahead of time. Sure. Very good. Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services, my guest in studio here for this morning. Paul, what else is kind of keeping the hospital busy? I know the Safe Sitter class is always very popular. I saw a little bit of a blurb for that on the billboard that sits outside the hospital. How about the Safe Sitter class?
That's right. June was all filled up. I just watched all the young folks come out of the Safe Sitter class the other day. And it's always good to see the youth get excited about these things. They were still talking about it as they were exiting the building. And, it doesn't make sense before school starts that that the younger folks would want to get trained to be sitters for when school starts again and people want to go back to work and they want to have already booked their babysitters or safe sitters for whether it's elderly or for the young folks. So in July, I don't know the exact date, but one should look at the hospital's Facebook page and look at activities in the wellness center. So there are still opportunities within July to book some appointments for safe sitter classes.
All right, very good. So be a part of those. Did you say who leads those, or like what the kids are learning or anything like that?
I don't know exactly who's leading them. I do know that is a very structured course that instructs the students on how to handle emergencies. What happens if there is a fire and you're responsible for those kids? What happens if the kids get sick? Call 911. All the steps to go through for a variety of emergencies.
Sure. Very good. All right, Paul. Well, with that, I've got about a minute. Anything to kind of wrap up the conversation today you want to put out there for us this morning?
Well, we did talk briefly about the challenges of the upcoming year with Medicaid cuts that will take effect. It's called HR1. And we are bracing ourselves for the financial impact because it's just so difficult to tell how many people might be affected by these kind of cuts. And we are also trying to take advantage of the rural health transformation grants that I have applied for, the hospitals applied for, and see if we can get the maximum amount of dollars to help those folks in the future.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. On that note, Paul, what's the best way for folks to keep up with all things Warner Hospital and Health Services?
Our website covers all of our services. However, our Facebook page also is very popular.
Very good. Paul, always good to see you, sir. Thanks for making time for us.
Thank you, Seth.
Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services, is my guest in studio this morning. Again, the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Beacon Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news comes your way next on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.5 FM Bloomington Normal.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. You can call him the bell ringer in chief. President Trump, he rang the stock market's opening bell this morning, doing so remotely from the Oval Office. A promotion aimed at calling attention to the launch of Trump accounts giving children access to investing.
The new program to start saving for your kids went live on July 4th. The Treasury Department says so far, more than 6 million Trump accounts have been opened for children under the age of 18. 1.4 million will receive the $1,000 federal contribution for newborns. The money in the accounts will grow tax deferred. Laura Winters reporting.
Some uncertainty over the future of global oil supplies as talks with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz are on hold for now, suspended during days-long funeral ceremonies for Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. BBC's Lise Doucette in Tehran.
With every day, there's more and more posters appearing, some with President Trump's face on it, saying death is near. And this is something that's being expressed not just by these crowds, but anger over this assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei in the first hours of the war on February the 28th is also fueling splits within the ruling ranks, with hardliners saying, why are you negotiating with President Trump's team when they ordered the assassination of our leader?
Oil prices have fallen as some members of the OPEC Plus cartel decided to raise output, that effective next month. This morning's AAA national average, regular gasoline, $3.79 a gallon, and that is down 1 penny from yesterday's national average. Watching Wall Street, the Dow is down about 39 points, while the NASDAQ is up more than 250 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
A communist giant rattles its atomic saber.
China's Navy has test-launched a long-range ballistic missile from one of its nuclear-powered submarines in the South Pacific, in a rare move that's drawn protest and concerns from countries in the region. The missile carried a dummy warhead, according to the official Xinhua news agency. China last conducted a missile test in the Pacific 2 years ago, then firing an intercontinental ballistic missile, also with a dummy warhead. That previous launch in international waters was the first in decades since 1980. The 2024 launch had mirrored testing that the US does for its own ballistic missile fleet, and experts then viewed it as an assertion of China's growing superpower status. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Clashes erupting inside a Sri Lankan prison. At least 25 people killed, more than 100 injured in the violence. News and analysis, townhall.com. One California man's challenge, legal battle, proves to be a blessing for a lot of others.
A farmer has been giving away nectarines amid a legal dispute with a food market and distribution company, claiming exclusive rights over the variety of a white nectarine that he grows. Cesar Mora has been unable to sell his nectarine crop for the last 2 years because of the lawsuit. Guimara Brothers Fruit Company filed the suit against Mora, centering on the company's claim of exclusivity and accusations Mora broke their contract by selling the fruit to other packers. Trial begins later this month. Jason Walker reporting.
President Trump preparing to leave for Ankara, Turkey, where he will be attending the annual NATO summit. The gathering runs through Wednesday. Last year, he had pushed the NATO allies to spend more money on their own defense. More on these stories, townhall.com.
A new tractor or combine can boost performance, but it's not the only way. Give the machine you already trust a fresh upgrade with a FlexAir reversing fan. A FlexAir fan automatically blows debris off your radiator, keeping your engine cool and you in the seat longer. Less stopping and cleaning means more work getting done. Find out more at flexair.com. That's FLEXXAIRE.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms today, otherwise cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. High temperatures reach up to 82. Northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for storms tonight, lows level off around 64, partly cloudy skies. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, 72.
It is Monday morning, July 6th, and this is AgriTalk. Welcome to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flory. The grain markets are riding high this morning. It's the first official day of the second half of the year for the markets. Price action coming out of the can be trend-setting, and I like the movement that we are seeing as the markets get started today. We'll have Angie Setzer on at the end of the show to give us her perspective on what's happening in today's grains. Cattle complex also higher. Lean hogs are mixed this morning. It's Monday morning and a big week for vintage tractor enthusiasts. We'll get Greg Peterson in here with his Machinery Pete update. Then we'll talk trade with Bob Hemesath from Farmers for Free Trade. And, of course, we'll get the weather forecast for the week from Brett Waltz at BAMWX.com. All of that after we get a news update from Haley Bickelhoff. Good morning, Haley.
Good morning, Chip. Did you enjoy your long weekend?
I did. I enjoyed it very much. I spent a lot of the time trying to figure out what we could and couldn't do because of the weather and the rain and some of the images coming out of central Iowa, parts of eastern Iowa, where they had 10, 12, 13 inches of rain combined since last Thursday. It's just unbelievable, the amount of water that's standing over there now. Yeah, it's crazy.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, definitely lots of storms that blew through on, America's 250th, which put a damper on a lot of different celebrations. That's for sure.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Now, we'll get Brett in here. We'll take a look at what he anticipates on the weather forecast, but I'll just give you a bit of a hint. It's got the heat in it, but not near as much rain. There are areas that are going to continue to probably get pounded with too much rain, but generally speaking, a drier trend in that outlook from Brett. We'll get the details from him in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's get on to the news. What do you got?
Wonderful. Yeah, well, to start us off today, Chip, the EPA recently proposed 6 new herbicide registrations. So the products vary. They can be used on a number of different crops and vegetables. And the president of the Weed Science Society The WSSA also calls the advancement an important tool for farmers. And CropLife America also says that they welcome this advancement. They say that farmers need access to these innovations. The group sharing a quote in a press release that the EPA's decision demonstrates the rigorous science and the timely decision-making can go hand in hand. However, Chip, there are critics, like there always are two sides of a story. The Center of Food Safety says, in quote, the Trump administration's EPA is once again showing its disdain for America's health and the natural world. But again, this is kind of that bigger discussion that we've been having over the last week of a lot of different discussions around the chemicals and the products that farmers are using on their fields.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Glyphosate was all over the headlines last week. Roundup, Monsanto, Bayer, Revion, or whatever the heck it is now. It is big attention being paid to the chemical side of agriculture right now.
Exactly. Well, to move to something a little bit different, Chip, I recently talked to the House Agriculture Committee Chairman, G.T. Thompson, who says that he believes it's the right political and the economic time to reform agricultural labor. So the chairman and I talked about his Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act. We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks since it's come out, but it updates the H-2A guest worker visa program by expanding access, controlling cost, and streamlining the process. So the H-2A program was created in 1986 by the Immigration Reform and Control Act. And in a fact sheet, Thompson's team states that it has been largely untouched since then. So here's why he says now is a good time for change.
The border is now under control. That was an issue why we haven't been able to, really to do any update to H-2A or any type of agriculture workforce legislation since Ronald Reagan was president of the United States. I also think past attempts has some detractors.
Yeah, so Thompson said that in the past he supported 3 bills that would have supported necessary labor reforms, but they didn't gain the traction that was needed. However, he reiterated to me that over 400 agricultural organizations support this legislation, including the American Farm Bureau, the Western Growers Association, the National Milk Producers Association, and the National Council of Agricultural Employees, just to name a few. So, we really had a long conversation just about some of the fee structures. And again, he just said that he thinks really now has the support from both industry and within Congress to get something passed.
Yeah, absolutely. After the House got the Farm Bill passed, its version of the Farm Bill passed, he started talking about the labor issue immediately. So it's good to see that they're making some progress.
Exactly. Well, Chip, China's decision to renew import licenses for U.S. meat plants has yet to revive the beef trade, but Bloomberg is reporting that the odds of more shipments in the second half of the year are improving. So China's slowing economy and strict measures have snapped some demand for premium cuts of meat. And the report says that the U.S. has a large quota allowance intact, which is giving it a big advantage because Australia has run out of its quota and Brazil is close to using up its allowance. So an analyst with Shanghai JC Intelligence told Bloomberg that they think there's a lot to look forward to when it comes to U.S. beef exports to China in the second half of the year.
Cool. Outstanding. Yeah, there's we need to get that market back because it's for cuts that we typically don't consume here in the States. All right, Haley, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Chip.
You bet. Let's bring in Brett Waltz, BAMWX.com. Good morning, Brett.
Hey, good morning, Chip.
Man, what a past 72 hours, something like that in the middle of the country. Just some crazy rainfall amounts.
I'm looking at the observed rainfall totals just over the past 7 days, and it's a widespread corridor of 2 to 4 inches plus of rain that's fallen. In some parts of Iowa and southern Minnesota picked up more than a half a foot of rain over the past 7 days. And then, your July 3rd, before the 4th, there was a lot of wind reports in northern Illinois, northern Indiana with severe storms.
Yeah. We've had enough of these pop-up showers, and I'm saying that and realizing that here in a couple of weeks we might be saying we need a rain because that seems to be the trend. The heat sticks around but dries out a bit. Is that what you see, Brett?
Yeah, it will be a little bit less active. There's still going to be some messy rain and storm chances for the Midwest, especially parts of Minnesota, central Minnesota, as we head over the next 7 days. Your corridor of heaviest rain shifts back southeast, more towards Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. But I do think in the medium to the extended range, there can be a little bit of a less active pattern for the middle of the country, much of the plains, and even into parts of the upper Midwest. But even then, I wouldn't say bone dry across, especially the Midwest.
Okay. Grain markets this morning are sharply higher. Part of the reason for that is the heat and dry conditions in Europe. Any change in that pattern?
I don't see much of a change there over the next 10 days. It's going to be a pretty persistent pattern, especially in Western Europe, some notable heat, maybe some brief relief in the extended range after day 10 or so towards the middle part of the month, but I think it's rather short-lived.
Okay. Yeah, and the hot temperatures here in the States, I mean, they look like they stick around until, somewhere around the 20th at least, something like that?
Yeah, I'd watch next week, especially to be a little bit more widespread with hotter than normal temperatures.
Okay.
I wouldn't say extreme. I expect that we have a pretty decent cold front down the road as well to keep an eye on.
Excellent. Brett Waltz, BAMWX.com. We've got Machine Repeat next year on AgriTalk.
Don't just plant potential, protect it from day one. At Champion Seed, we apply double the industry standard rate of insecticide to every corn hybrid. And our fungicide package uses multiple modes of action to tackle whatever spring brings. For soybeans, we've developed a proprietary line of precisely blended seed treatments with top technology providers and apply at label maximum. Plant with confidence. Plant Champion. Learn more at plantchampion.com.
At Great Plains, we know that everything you do today makes an impact on your operation tomorrow. We've engineered soil management and seeding equipment with this in mind, to deliver results on every acre while preserving your greatest asset for years to come. Prepare for the future of farming. Visit your local Great Plains dealer or go to GreatPlainsAg.com today. Great Plains. Harvest starts here.
Right here in our backyard, sellers trust Purple Wave Auction to move their equipment, from excavators and ag equipment to trucks and specialty trailers. Our no-reserve online auctions help local sellers turn iron into opportunity. You get a dedicated territory manager who knows your operation, your market, and your timeline, backed by nationwide buyer demand, local service, national reach, real results. See why more sellers choose Purple Wave. Visit purplewave.com to get started today.
I'm Tyne Morgan, host of U.S. Farm Report. Join me each weekend as we explore the news and issues that matter the most to agriculture. We know this past year has been challenging in many ways, but as agriculture can.
This is Seth Lawrence, station manager for the Heart Media Group here in Clinton. We take pride in being Clinton and Central Illinois' local radio stations each and every day, 7 days a week. What does local news mean? Here's a sample.
Yeah, we did receive a grant. It's a sizable grant. It was $50,000.
Trying to get some additional personnel for the fire department.
You can sign up anytime that summer reading is going on, which is May 30th through July 31st.
What I'm really concerned about is losing local control over what happens with data centers.
But then what we're finding for e-bikes, there's different classes of e-bikes.
You hear the local people that make the news every day, 7 days a week. Follow WHOW on Facebook and Instagram to see the faces behind the voices and stay connected to your local community on WHOW and WEZC.
You're listening to AgriTalk on the Big 1520 WHOW.
Challenging times. I would love for you to join me every weekday morning on Ag Day. We'll see you there.
When news breaks, the newsmakers talk about it on AgriTalk with Chip Flory.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm Chip. Glad that you're with us. Hope you all had a happy, safe, joyous, celebratory, patriotic. Let's put all the words out there. Hope you had a great weekend, a great extended weekend, and found a way to celebrate America 250. Let's bring in Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. Good morning, Greg. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good, Chip. How are you doing?
Doing real fine, real fine. Had a great weekend. Spent some time with some family and spent some time outdoors. Just it was a little hot. It was a little hot. It was a little rainy, like I was saying with Haley. Had to figure out how to dodge the raindrops over the past few days. That's for sure.
Yeah, rainy here in southeast Minnesota for sure. They had some actually some bad flooding down around Lanesboro, Preston. So we feel for those folks. I was actually out in Laramie, Wyoming. If folks are watching the video feed, I don't know if you can see I'm repping a Wyoming cowboy hoodie today. Moved our oldest daughter out there. It was not so humid out there. I like that cool, crisp air on the high plains out there. It's good stuff. Good people out there.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Let's get to it. What you got for the pick of the week, bud?
Well, pick of the week, we're going last Tuesday. Our friends at Ritchie Brothers had a U.S. agriculture equipment auction with some of their Midwest sites. A lot of it from Medford, Minnesota, just over to my west a little bit. But I think the pick of the week, I'd probably say, Chip, was the Combine, the 24 model John Deere S780, 476 engine hours on it. Did have a John Deere Power Guard warranty till mid-April of 27 or 750 hours, but it brought $414,000, which when you look at it, that is the highest auction price on an S780 with over 450 engine hours in 2.5 years. So I thought that was very solid price there. And then also a skid steer on that auction. Had a 23 model Deere 332G, 987 hours, super sharp. Again, I think it was from Minnesota here. That brought $41K, which that is the highest auction price I've ever seen on a 332G with over 430 hours. And again, this one had over double that at 987 hours. So some real strong prices by Ritchie Brothers there.
Excellent, excellent. Boy, those are some impressive numbers. what are you starting to think about these combine prices? Because we've gone 3 weeks in a row now of mentioning some combine prices that were a little stiffer than what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think the used combines, if they're good condition, definitely have jumped up here the last half of June. Another example would be a different sale last Tuesday out in Mowequa, Illinois by Schmidt Auction. They had a 13 model John Deere S670 chip that had 2,316 engine hours. It was a gold key tour, so one owner, super sharp, through the shop every year. But that brought 1035, which that's the second highest this year on a 13 model. And just for perspective, average auction price on a 13 model S760 is about 125. So to do 1035 was very strong there as well. So combines again,
no doubt.
just picking up a little bit here end of June.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I know that you've got a guest that you want to bring on, but real quick, any other prices that you want to highlight?
Yeah, one other one from that Mowequa, Illinois auction by Schmidt Auction on last Tuesday. They had a pre-def, an 08 Kubota M108X tractor with a loader. So there you've got two things going for it. It's pre-def plus it's a loader tractor, two hot items, 1,780 hours, one owner, brought 45.2, and that's a record. That's the highest I've ever seen on an M108X. In fact, Chip, the previous high was from exactly 12 years ago, July of 14. So again, just an indicator there of how much farmers want pre-def, good condition, and loader tractors have been very hot.
Yeah. The loader tractors, the record price on the 332 skid steer that you mentioned. There's livestock influence on that, on what's going on there, isn't there?
All right, there really is. And I tell you, another interesting test of the market. We'll bring in our guest here if Joe can bring him in. Alex Kerr with Kerr Auction has quite a sale this Thursday. Now, I find it interesting over the years to track pricing on vintage tractors. And our friend Alex, wow, what a sale July 9th in Penfield, Illinois. We're going to be there filming for our Machinery Pete TV show. But Alex, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. I understand you're in the auction truck. You're working on getting those tractors ready for the big sale Thursday.
We're driving the truck and trailer over to Penfield.
Well, folks, what you need to do is go to kerrauction.com, Kerr auction.com, and look at this sale Thursday. It's the first day of the historic Farm Days event there. Of course, people know that in Penfield, tremendous event. Alex has worked with those folks and has the sale on day one of the auction. But wow, what a lineup, Alex. Tell us about the sale.
I've never turned down so many pieces of equipment for an auction as I did this. We had a 2.5 hour window to put this in during the show. And we didn't take a lot of parts. We did just a little bit for filler. And then we took an estate that generated some stuff that probably is a little low end for it. And then after that, we go into full-on collector tractors, and I lined it up so that we'll see how close to right I am. I did sale order based on what I thought the values would be.
Okay.
So this one should climb, if I'm right, from least valuable to the most expensive.
So what you're telling me, Alex, is though that Massey Ferguson 1155 open station off of the Dan Kuhn's collection that you got selling last year, do you think that might be a hot seller?
Well, we broke 3 records the last time we sold tractors for him, so I'm betting on him again. But that 1468, I think it's a coin flip between the two of them.
Right.
It comes from Virginia, Illinois. We know the dealer that sold it new. The guy that rebuilt it was the second owner was the service manager at the dealer that sold it new. And then a friend of mine, it's in his collection. I asked him what he had he could sell, and he's kind of a deer guy, so this thing's going to the sale.
Well, Alex, we're filming it for Machinery Pete TV, and you're making this difficult because when I look at the lineup, it's like, what should we not film? I mean, that Alice Chalmers 8070 two-wheel drive, 4,708 hours, the 76 Black Stripe 1066 open station, The 64 Minneapolis McLean G706 LP mechanical front, only 300 made. Another Massey, a 71 1150 that's beautiful. That 1468. You've just got some awesome tractors on the sale Thursday.
Yeah, the International 1206 Wheatland is pretty special, and that is a top-notch restoration job. The 2 cylinders, there's a 730 Wheatland diesel and a G, and the G is probably the best restoration job I've ever seen.
Yeah, and then talk about that case 2090, one owner, 4,300 hours. Man, is that thing sharp?
Yeah, it comes out of DeKalb, Illinois. It's still got the DeKalb implement sticker on it. When was the last time you saw a JI case that you could see your reflection in the paint?
It's been a little while, but that's why I like hanging out with you, Alex, because you always find awesome stuff. Again, folks, the sale is Thursday, July 9th. And Alex, you've also kind of arranged for people coming out to the auction. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of paying their entry fee to the show, the Historic Farm Day show, correct?
Yeah, so Pinfield takes gate money in different locations, so we couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yep.
So what you're going to do, if you show up, you'll pay your entry fee, you come to the Kerr auction trailer, and when you register and get your bidder number, we're going to hand you a $10 bill back.
I love it, folks. That's why Alex Kerr
too.
Auction, very innovative. They do great stuff. That's awesome, Alex. Can't wait to get down there on Wednesday and Thursday to hang out with you.
Alex, the reason I got quiet while I was listening to that is because I was also looking at pictures of that 1066. Holy smokes, what a tractor.
Yeah, Alex.
Still there, Alex? What else?
Well, I mean,
go ahead,
not
Greg.
to divert
Yeah, it's a great lineup through and through, Chip. That 1066, awesome. There's a John Deere 4000. Alex said that John Deere G restoration. He posted a video of that thing, just incredible. Massey Harris 55, 1950. Oh, and if you like vintage combines, folks, check out the sweet Case 600. It looks beautiful. I don't know mechanically or anything, but it looks fantastic. I don't see those every day, so we're going to have a great time there. Come out and join us Thursday in Penfield, Illinois, folks. Alex Kerr, great company. It'll be big fun.
All right. To get more information and to look at the pictures that I was just looking at, go to www.kerrauction.com. That's KERR auction.com. Greg, good stuff this week. Alex, good luck with the auction. Thanks for hopping on here. We'll talk to you fellas later. We'll be right back with Bob Hamasath from Farmers for Free Trade.
On September 11th, 2001, 2,977 people were killed.
I wasn't there.
But I lived the legacy of people who were.
I wasn't there, but I'll never forget.
25 years later, the 9/11 Memorial and Museum preserves the stories of that day and the service it inspired so that we always remember. Join us at neverforget.org.
I'm Tyne Morgan, host of U.S. Farm Report, but I'm also a journalist, a wife, and a mom raising 2 girls in the heart of rural America.
We don't just report on rural life, we live it. When drought hits or markets shift or policy changes, it's...
SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump, who has pressed the NATO allies to spend more on defense, is about to head to Turkey for the annual NATO summit. His agenda for the summit will include pushing the allies to honor the commitments they've made, step up their defense spending. Russia's war in Ukraine will be among the issues discussed at the forum, with Ukrainian President Zelensky to address the summit. Overnight, Russia launched more deadly drone and missile strikes on Ukraine's capital of Kiev. First, there was a dangerous, deadly heat wave. Now comes the rain, flooding rain, sweeping across parts of the Midwest, moving into the east as well. And gasoline prices continue drifting lower. AAA's national average for a gallon of regular, $3.79. It's down 1 cent from yesterday. Wall Street is down 98 points, and NASDAQ trading 289 points higher. More details, srnnews.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The Forcivo Fungicide 3, a powerful group of effective active ingredients working together to force control and destroy corn and soybean foliar diseases with residual activity up to 30 days, never resting, having your back, keeping crops and yield potential safe and healthy.
The line was, Forcivo Fungicide gives you residual activity up to 30 days.
The hero can be anyone. It can even be a fungicide. Go to Corteva.com/hero.
The WHOW Morning Show is now video streamed live on the WHOW WEZC DeWittDailyNews.com Facebook page and on the new WHOW TV YouTube channel. Watch morning show host Seth Lawrence interview guests live, as well as watch archived video podcasts of any interview you missed. Whether on Facebook or YouTube, we're providing 2 more ways that Central Illinois' local news station, WHOW, delivers compelling content for you.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
You've clicked through to AgriTalk on WHOW stream from Central Illinois Ag Station. Findings may have meant for the markets during the week, what it might mean going forward. And of course, Dan will be talking about other market issues. If you want more information, more details, go to farmjournal.yieldacademy.com. Let's bring in Bob Hemisath, board chairman of the Farmers for Free Trade. Good morning, Bob. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, Chip. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing okay. Okay. How things looking up there in Northeast Iowa?
You know, we're looking really good. We had some areas on the north. We farm a little bit of ground right across the border in Minnesota, and as Machinery Pete mentioned, we got some pretty heavy rains up there, 8 to 10 inches. So hoping that we dry out there, but overall the crop is looking really good.
Yeah. You know, it's times like this year that you're kind of thankful for the rolling hills that you farm up in the driftless area there, Bob, aren't you?
Yeah, you hate to see water run off, but when you get that much, it's got to go somewhere. So yeah, we are kind of fortunate that way. It doesn't help the people on the lower ends of it, though. There's a lot of devastation from from the excess water.
There is. Everything on schedule with the corn and bean crops?
Yeah, you know, the corn crop right in our area is probably a week to 10 days ahead of schedule, I would say, for the most part.
Okay.
Beans have been struggling a little bit. They're starting to turn the corner now. There's some beans that just were slow. So, but I think it's not unusual with beans, but they're starting to take off now. So yeah, overall things are, I'd say, on schedule or a little bit ahead. So
excellent. Excellent. Okay. All right. On July 1st, the U.S. Trade Reps Office and the Trump administration basically allowed the renewal deadline of the USMCA to pass and announced that they would not renew USMCA in its current form. What's the situation? What's the status right now, Bob?
So basically, Chip, what happened is that they had the opportunity to sign or extend to the 2036 the full 16 years of the originally negotiated agreement. And so now with their decision, they can still sign an extension to 2036, but it'll have to be done in writing. There's some technical differences and stuff. So now, if they don't do that, now we're going to be sitting on a rolling annual review each year of the agreement. And so that means that we have to agree to it each year, review wise, or up until the 2036 when the original agreement expires, or the agreement could be done or terminated. So I think there's a lot of, I'm hopeful that the three countries will get together and that we will still sign a full extension here and work out our issues. I think this is I get where the United States is at, where this administration is at, and some of the efforts that they want to change some things. So I'm hoping that they don't drag this out. Don't kick the can down the road. Let's meet. Right. Let's talk about the issues that we want to talk about and see if we can't come to an agreement.
So do you have they given an indication of what is the holdup and what prevented the U.S. from signing the extension? I mean, let's start there. Have they given an indication of what the holdup is?
The only thing that we can understand or that we perceive to be issues are some of the seasonality issues with the southern farmers, and also the dairy TRQs, the tariff rate quotas with the dairy industry. Those are a couple of things that have been wanted to been changed, but overall, no, I haven't heard a whole lot. My guess is that part of it still is fentanyl coming in and those kind of things maybe are broader things than just agriculture. So I'm speculating on that, but my guess is that's one of this administration's, key issues with this, with the border. And so I think that might be part of it as well. I'm speculating there, but I think I'm pretty close there. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that does make sense. Now, with going year to year, I mean, that's better than tearing the agreement up.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. The only problem with going to year is that it doesn't give you the stability or predictability that a long-term agreement does. So that's the part that we're concerned about is that you're always sitting there. Okay, we all know how fast time flies. And a year is not a long period of time, and so that's the one thing that weighs heavily in the background is that stability and predictability for markets for us as farmers, and also just the supply chain and manufacturing. There's a lot of parts move back and forth through manufacturing, and whether it's built here, whether it's built in Canada, whether it's built in Mexico, those things go back and forth, and so there's just a lot of things that could be disrupted easily on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah. Without it's going to be around in 5 years. Part of it's the investment side of things. We need people. We need consumers in Mexico, consumers in Canada. They need the confidence that what we can supply them is going to be supplied. I mean, the number one thing I know how important Mexico is on corn, on pork, on other products, but when I look at the biofuels in particular, Bob, I'm looking up to Canada because what a market they have become for the low carbon ethanol products, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. That's why that's why it's so key. All of those things you mentioned, so key to having stability in this agreement and predictability and long-term commitment to this trade agreement, because they're just so many things. You touched on some very important ones for farmers, and the other one is I know USDA is working very hard, and I'm very appreciative of it, to try to build capacity to manufacture or to mine, or we want to put it, fertilizer in this country, and that's great. I fully support that, but we also know that that doesn't happen overnight. Let's put it that way, and it also will never be able to be the full supply of the market. So we all know that most of our potash comes from Canada. All these things. Yep. It's just, there's so many things that intertwine, that for all the countries, that we just need more stability, and we need the agreement to stay in effect. It's 1.8 trillion between the three countries each year. So, I mean, the economic impact is huge. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and just think of the trickle down of that $1 trillion plus trade into the farm communities, and if we put that at risk, holy smokes, man, we can't be doing that. We can't be messing with it too much here.
No, and we all know, we're all well aware of where we're at, as far as the economics of agriculture right now, and we definitely need certainty in our markets at this point in time. Yep. Hello?
There you are. Got you back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was on, but it was gone. I don't know what happened. So, no, it didn't look like it hung up. Technology's wonderful.
Yeah, no,
so,
yeah, isn't it? It's great as long as it works like it's supposed to. Good grief. Good grief. I was just making the comment there, Bob, that we've also got some things going with China right now that are very encouraging and should give these markets a continued boost in here.
Yeah. I agree. There's at least we're continuing to talk, and we're continuing to work on trying to work out a better agreement with China. So that's encouraging as well.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Bob. Hey, thanks, buddy. You be safe up there. I'll talk to you again real soon. And good luck with that crop this year. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. That is Bob Hemasath. He is a Northeast Iowa farmer and the board chairman of Farmers for Free Trade. It's a Trump agreement. He doesn't want to see it disappear.
If you own trucks, safety and compliance aren't optional, they're essential. That's why trucking companies trust the Illinois Trucking Association. ITA's drug and alcohol testing program helps you meet DOT requirements with confidence. From random testing to program management, ITA's got you covered. And in Springfield, the ITA is always fighting for you, protecting your interests and your livelihood. The Illinois Trucking Association is your trusted partner in trucking. Call us today or go to iltrucking.org.
This is AgriTalk on 92.3 in DeWitt County, WHOW.
And helps you navigate these challenging times. I would love for you to join me every weekday morning on Ag Day. We'll see you there.
Many of our U.S. veterans and service members face challenges, mental health struggles, housing obstacles, food insecurity, and social isolation, to name just a few. I'm Bob Woodruff. My family and I started the Bob Woodruff Foundation in 2006 after I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq. Our service members had my back that day, and we need to have theirs now more than ever. At our foundation, we invest in solutions, so learn more about our work at bobwoodrufffoundation.org/success.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing. Because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure-our-world. Then share them with family and friends.
The Scoop Podcast is where we talk about tight supply chains, emerging agronomic challenges, technology tools delivering ROI. I'm Margie Eckelkamp, editor of The Scoop and host of The Scoop Podcast. Join me as I interview leaders from across the ag retail sector. Farmers are working hard for every bushel, and their trusted advisors are by their side. Find The Scoop Podcast wherever you find podcasts so you are up to date on everything ag retail.
Joining us now, Dean Grossnickel, Syngenta Technical Development Lead, West Heartland. Dean, what should growers be on the watch for at this point in the season?
Well, right now, we do have some reports that tar spot has already found its way within the Midwest, definitely in Nebraska and Iowa per se. It's not necessarily unusual because it has been here in the past and shown up in middle to late June. We were caught off guard by southern rust last year, and that was the big disease and big talker here. And I think we got all tunnel focused on southern rust, and that's going to be the big player. Hasn't shown up down south, so I don't expect it right now to be blowing up into the Midwest. Tar spot is here, so that's probably one of the diseases that we should probably be focused on as we go here late June into July.
All right, Dean, talk to us about how Miravis Neo can help manage disease and environmental stress.
Well, really, ultimately what it does is because of the three components in Miravis Neo, you're going to have a triazole, which is going to stop the disease. You got two preventative fungicides in the azoxystrobin and the adepinin that are in there. Two preventatives, one curative, one's going to stop the disease, and the other is going to be protective. But that's not all. It does have, again, some of the plant health benefits that if, say, for instance, if you get hot and dry, it can help protect that plant and help manage stress by reducing the evapotranspiration within the leaves, managing that, help that plant conserve moisture. And then again, that translates into yield, protecting and maximizing that ROI for growers.
That's Dean Grossnickel, Syngenta Technical Development Lead, West Heartland. You can learn more about Miravis Neo at syngentaus.com/NeoWins.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Call 1-800-678-1298. That's 1-800-678-1298 or visit plexidermtrial.com.
Ready to unlock more for every acre? Join us at Yield Academy, August 20th in Rochester, Minnesota. Then stick around for the crop tour finale. Head online to register today.
Welcome back to Agri Talk. I'm Chip. Glad that you are with us here on this Monday morning and a big day. Big start to the week in the grain markets. In particular, we've got corn 15 to 17 cents higher. soybeans are knocking on the door of 50 cents gains right now, and wheat.
Well, I don't know what wheat did. Chip is having some technical issues with connection. Angie, are you with us still?
I am here. Yes, I
What's
am
wheat
here.
doing? Do you know what
Wheat
Chip was
is
about to
also
say?
up. It's up about 13.5 cents today in Chicago. You've got Kansas City up 9, and the spring wheat market's up 9 to 10 cents across the board. So good day all around.
Good deal. What else would you think Chip was going to mention about what's going on
Yeah.
so far in the market?
Yeah, I know for a fact that Chip was going to say to me, Angie, what the heck is going on? That's right, and he might be back in time to hear me now. He may perk up. We'll see what he says.
I see him there. Yep.
Yeah, and we've got several different things. You've got several big things happening right now. You've got the China confirmation there late last week that they will, in fact, be working with the U.S. on the tariff reductions and really working to hopefully, resume or begin to facilitate that trade that we've been waiting for. It sounds like that is on its way, or at least that's what they're kind of working towards. And then we've got the weather issue. I mean, the weather has been far from perfect. I think we had everyone kind of assume that, the middle of June, like the last couple of years, once we made it through the middle of June and everything looked okay, that it would continue to be that way. But we're really not seeing it. And we've got major issues in Europe that has my attention as well. I mean, there's just a lot of things at hand that are supporting the market today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And let's talk to me about what we know about the trade.
Well, there again, Angie, what do you suppose the rest of Chip's question was going to sound like?
The trade deal with China, I would imagine. And so the things that we know the most are, what the White House has confirmed. They have their fact sheet put out. They had said $17 billion in additional trade. That would put us in line with what we saw late 2021, I believe there. The 25 million metric ton of soybean purchases on the new crop side would be big as well. And honestly, like a lot of folks have kind of expressed this sort of, oh, this is impossible, or they're not going to do this because Brazil this or Brazil that. We also have this sort of underlying influence at hand too with the situation in Brazil. Farmers are going backwards there in a big way. They're not making money. We're looking at the lowest expansion rates in acreage in how many years. And so there's a lot of factors at hand that, I do think China steps in. I think it ends up being supportive to us long term.
Okay. All right, Angie, I'm on the phone now, so hopefully this is going to lock us in. So I was just going to ask how much of a difference last week's quarterly grain stocks and acreage report, how that might have set us up. And the grain stocks, it showed us some corn use that not a lot of people expected, right?
Or that we are, that our thoughts that production was going to be reduced last year due to disease and some of these other issues kind of comes clearer as the stocks dwindle. It's easy. Putting a 17 billion bushel crop out there. And so I do think that confirms it. I think that over the last 6 months, or longer than that, even throughout much of this marketing year, you've had analysts kind of believe that the feed and residual number the USDA was using was way too high. And I can see it historically. Yeah, it is. But in line with what we've got with all of the residual shrinkage and all of these other things that you have, like, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that if we don't have a 180 plus, a 183 plus in corn, we are going to see a significant reduction in ending stocks unless acres are different than what we're currently using. We just got out over our skis with the funds liquidating. And so to me now, if you were a speculator and you were looking at the forecast both here in Europe and China, look at what's going on in China from a production standpoint. They're also dealing with extreme heat and dryness in places. Like if you were looking at that and then looking at the idea that China demand we're not yet factoring into an already very demand robust balance sheet, I wouldn't be wanting to sit short this market for much longer. Not necessarily saying they have to go significantly long, but I would definitely be reducing my short exposure in this current setup.
Yeah, managed money is definitely adding to the momentum here this morning. How close do you think they are to getting out of those short positions?
I think they're on the cusp. I think if you see a continuation of heat in the forecast, if we truly see, heat this week bubble back in, a continuation of heat, like right now you're looking at the 8 to 14 has an additional heat signal showing up between the 13th and the 19th of July. If we finish out July with a continuation of heat and dryness in the Western Corn Belt and see this sort of continuation in Europe and you even get a hint that China's sniffing around, look out. But that as a farmer, you have to be actively participating in this market because we already know that as quick as it goes up, it'll come right back. It could come right back down, and so be sure that you're using this as an opportunity to get some coverage on if you're in an area where production looks good and you're sitting, less than what you had hoped to be at this point in time. We've got target orders in that 485 December area again to add some additional hedges. As we need to get back up that way. We'll take advantage of 5 if it gives it to us. But this thing really could get itself, moving on in a big way. But at the same time, and I hate to be that person, if the weather calms down and China, or we have an issue where China and the U.S. are kind of like, oh, we haven't really decided what we're doing, things could cool out. But I think this is a very different setup than what we thought we had 2 weeks ago.
Awesome. Excellent. Angie, sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll do better next time.
No, it's not a problem at all. I've worked with you so long now, Chip. I almost know what you're going to say before you say it. So I think we did okay.
I think you did great. Thank you so much, Angie. That is Angie Setzer, Consus Ag Consulting. Come back this afternoon. Michelle Ruck is going to have a full rundown of everything that happened in the market today with Sam Hudson from Corn Belt Marketing. Come back tomorrow morning, NCGA President Jed Bauer, and a conversation with David Hula and Randy Dowdy right here on AgriTalk.
This is Andrew McCrae, host of the American Countryside. I'm also a farmer and rancher from Northwest Missouri, and I hope you'll join me each week for Farming the Countryside, as we take a look at the top issues impacting agriculture as told by the people farming and working in their industry. We'll talk about markets and trade, share some of the latest tips and trends for grain and livestock producers, and take a look at trends impacting rural America. Join me for Farming the Countryside on many local radio stations or on your favorite podcast platform, or just go to farmingthecountryside.com.
Many of our U.S. veterans and service members face challenges, mental health struggles, housing obstacles, food insecurity, and social isolation, to name just a few. I'm Bob Woodruff. My family...
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Double-digit higher with corn, beans, and Chicago wheat. July corn up 15 3/4, 440 3/4. September corn up 13 3/4, 436 3/4. December corn 456 1/2, up 15. July beans up 40, 1171 3/4. August beans up 42 1/2, 1178 3/4. And November beans 1193 1/4, up 45 1/2. July Chicago wheat up 11, 601 1/2. July KC wheat is up 7 3/4, 634 3/4. July bean meal 315.40, up 770. July bean oil up $1.40, 68.35. Livestock trade August feeders down 85 cents. 359.77. August live cattle 239.17, down a nickel. July lean hogs down 12 cents, 93.72. Energy market September Brent crude oil 72.10, down 2 cents.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.5 FM Bloomington Normal.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump, who has pressed the NATO allies to spend more on their own defense, is about to head to Turkey for the annual NATO summit. His agenda for the gathering will include holding the allies' feet to the fire, pushing them to honor the commitments they've made. The summit will run through Wednesday. ICE in the Bayou State.
The new ICE facility being built next to a Louisiana airfield in Alexandria, and it could speed up deportations for families. The Trump administration plans to open the center with just over 500 beds for illegal aliens and unaccompanied children awaiting removal from here in the U.S. ICE is being clear on calling this a staging area and not a detention center. Laura Winters reporting.
Gas prices continue to edge lower. AAA's national average for a gallon of regular $3.79 is down 1 cent from yesterday. And the White House says it's not the only relief for our beleaguered budgets.
Republicans say the Trump tax cuts are continuing to provide major relief for American workers as the benefits begin their second year. The White House says 97% of taxpayers received a tax cut, with average refunds exceeding $3,400. Millions also claimed deductions for tips, overtime pay, and Social Security benefits. The administration says the law is boosting take-home pay and helping strengthen families across the country. Ken Lorman reporting.
Charlie Kirk's accused assassin goes to court today. A preliminary hearing expected to run all week. 23-year-old Tyler Robinson was allegedly the gunman who shot Charlie Kirk 10 months ago. He was addressing an audience of thousands at Utah Valley University. Watching Wall Street, stocks are mixed this morning. The Dow is down 35 points on the NASDAQ, 284 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, I'm not one to say I told you so, but do you remember last year when I told you that Pure Talk was hands down the best wireless company that I'd ever used? Well, some of you were skeptical, but Consumer Reports just asked 120,000 people to rate every wireless company in America, including the big boys. Well, guess which company was the only company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. Coverage, support, value, data. 5 stars across the board. No service contracts, no cancellation fees, just great U.S. customer service on a crazy fast 5G network for a fraction of what you've been paying. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I will encourage you one more time to dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to a 5-star American wireless company that won't let you down. Pure Talk.
In some places, on some waters, international shipping is risky business these days.
A cargo ship has come under attack off the coast of Yemen in the Red Sea. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center reported the attack off of Yemen. The UK MTO says the ship was reportedly under attack by unknown armed assailants. The UK MTO also says authorities are investigating and no group immediately claimed the attack. Yemen's Houthi rebels have threatened to begin attacking ships again, though they have not been carrying out any attacks. Somali pirates also have been active further away in the Gulf of Aden recently. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
The Philippine Senate has launched impeachment proceedings for Vice President Sara Duterte, a politically volatile event. It will unfold against the backdrop of her bitter feud with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. News and analysis, townhall.com. The White House has a problem with those who are in charge of the national treasure that's known as America's attic.
A report released late on Independence Day by the White House Domestic Policy Council calls leadership at the Smithsonian Institution radical activists who cannot be trusted, especially at the National Museum of American History. And the report indicates that President Donald Trump may be getting ready to install his own team. In March, Trump said he intended to force changes at the Smithsonian with an executive order targeting funding programs that advanced dismissive narratives and improper ideology. Donna Warder, Washington.
FIFA has pulled an about-face now. American soccer star Lauren Balogun, who previously had a 1-game suspension, will be allowed to play in tonight's showdown with Belgium. President Trump on social media says it remedies what he calls a great injustice. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Here's Hart Media Group owner Matt Hart talking about the new digital platform for local sports, IL SportsWire.
And that's why we also added things like IL SportsWire. We know how important local sports are to communities, especially communities like Clinton and Monticello and Central Illinois. And so that's why we created a whole new product, really kind of wrote the rule book on IL SportsWire, but it's been very, very well received. We're getting, believe it or not, 2 million views a month from this new platform.
Find IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platform.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast.
Slight chance of thunderstorms. Today, otherwise cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. High temperatures reach up to 82. Northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for storms. Tonight, lows level off around 64, partly cloudy skies. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently 75.
Informing America's farmers and ranchers. This is AOA, produced by Farm and Ranch Media. Now, here's your host, Jesse Allen.
Well, hello and welcome into a new episode of AOA, Agriculture of America. Hope you and yours had a safe and happy 4th of July holiday weekend. Coming up here on the show today, we'll take a look at a few Ag News headlines later on in the program, including some updates on U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement and where things stand there after the U.S. decided not to extend that last week when that review process started. Ahead of that, in segment 3, we're going to take a look at what is coming up later this summer at the Farm Progress Show, held just outside of Boone, Iowa this year. Matt Youngman with Farm Progress will join us. We'll talk weather with DTN meteorologist John Baranek as well. Coming up here in segment 2, some very localized heavy rainfall in parts of Iowa, for instance, over the weekend and more. We're going to talk about that with John in just a little bit. Let's get started and take a look at markets as we open up the week post-holiday. Darren Newsom, senior market analyst at Bar Chart, is with us. Darren, hope you had a nice holiday weekend. And here we are with the grain complex, starting with some fireworks of our own in Monday's trade, Darren.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the types of rallies that we're seeing basically across the board in the commodity complex, there's a few markets in the red, but by and large, we're seeing solid rallies coming out of the weekend. And, the first two things that came to my mind, particularly in the grains, was, the two things that we usually look at this time of year would be weather and China. I have no idea if China's actually in the market. They could be, particularly in the beans. If their demand for Brazilian beans have tightened their main suppliers' supplies, so they could be looking over into the U.S. for some secondary supplies. But it was kind of typical of what we used to see coming out of the 4th of July. What was atypical about it was, as you mentioned, there were some rains across the Midwest. Now there were reports of some flooding in Iowa and so on, but by and large, there were some rains across the U.S. Midwest. Temperatures weren't extraordinary for the most part. Now, they are supposed to heat up again over the next 6 to 10 days, but, it is summertime. So it looked to be a weather rally that triggered some algorithm buying.
I think about the old adage, buy the rumor, sell the fact, and I'm going to try to apply it here a little bit. You brought up China and then the weather forecast, the extended forecast that we've been seeing. Is it maybe a little bit of that buying the rumor here in terms of China and even, buying the rumor of will we be hot and dry for the next couple of weeks here through July, Darren?
Yeah, I think it's probably more of the latter. I think given these markets are weather derivatives, I think it's more of the latter. And if we look over to the soft sector, we're seeing big moves right now in coffee. And this is something that we've noticed over the last few weeks as the coffee market's just exploding. And it's not the normal sort of situation like what we would think with soybeans. Brazil is the number one producer and exporter of coffee and sugar in the world. But in the coffee market, what we've been seeing is that there's a great deal of rain over Brazil's coffee growing region. And so it's slowing harvest. And so we're seeing just extraordinary moves there. So to me, there is some spillover from the soft sector into the grains on the idea, if there's weather problems in Brazil for some of these other commodities, certainly it could apply. Theoretically, it could apply to the soybeans and corn market. Though right now it's still wintertime there in Brazil. So it's not a huge player at this point, but it certainly seems to have the market's attention.
Well, it seems soybeans, corn, the leaders here, wheat's not left out, though. And I wonder if some of that may be tied to the global weather picture with all the concern about Europe's heat and more here lately. Obviously, wheat, we talk about it so many times. It's a global market. Your thoughts on this wheat subsector, Darren?
Yeah, I think that's where what we're really seeing pump up the wheat subsector at this point. You know, we look and it was the soft red winter that led the market, that led the sector overnight. You know, we saw some solid buying in the September issue. And last week, what stood out to me last week was the fact that we saw some commercial buying, what looked to be commercial buying coming into both soft red winter and hard red winter, but predominantly soft red winter, as the September contract gained on DEES, which gained on March, which gained on May, and so on. So, I mean, there was a consistency to the future spreads that told us that there was some concern going into the 3-day holiday weekend about what was going to happen in Europe with the weather, what the extended forecast was saying. And so, you know, while the U.S. market's still not overly bullish, it's not as bearish as it was just a few weeks ago either from a fundamental point of view.
Talking with Darren Newsom from Bar Chart. You look at these outside markets as well, and thinking financials, equities, energies, et cetera. I know we've had our run of regular monthly data that looks at inflation, things of that nature. As we kind of step back, big picture this a little bit, what's your perception of the health of the U.S. economy here now that we move into a new quarter here, Darren?
I think there is some concern, and I think it all starts with inflation. Now, as you mentioned, we've been receiving some government data for what that's worth, pointing at the labor market may not be as strong as it once was. And to me, this makes the case maybe a little bit stronger for a possible tipping point in the cattle market. Certainly, we need to keep a close eye on the cash markets there to see if that starts to crack a little bit due to consumer demand possibly going away. So it's interesting to note that in the energy sector overnight, we see diesel fuel up about a dime, while crude oil really isn't doing much of anything. So we can see where most of the support is in some of these product markets at this point.
Well, you mentioned the cattle market, and we'll talk about that in a second. I believe I saw a Rabobank report here over the weekend looking at some pullback at restaurants when it comes to hamburgers and pizza, for instance. And where I'm going with this is, you know, there's been so much talk about the cattle supply, and we've seen shackle space going away, plant closures, things of that nature, but also talk about what's going to happen at the restaurant level. Will consumers start to tighten the belt and be a little more picky in terms of going out to eat with this economy? And could that translate into some different price action here in the protein sector, Darren?
I think it really could. Again, we've been seeing this in some of the labor numbers and some of the jobs numbers and so on. And if we've kind of made this case for the last couple of years, and it just hasn't held true yet. So I think it's something that we certainly have to be wary of, and that's a good indication. What is the traffic to these restaurants? What are we seeing a change from the sit-down restaurant to the fast food restaurant? And what does this say about the overall economy? I know there used to be like a McDonald's index that folks watched, and McDonald's kind of got fancy and raised its made itself into something other than what it actually is. So I think it is worth watching to see what these are trying to tell us.
That good old McChicken, McDouble index, or Big Mac index, whatever you want to call it. Darren, anything else real quick you would add or reiterate for folks today?
Yeah, I think it's with your next guest, John, with DTN. I think this all comes down to weather right now. We could be in that time frame, as one of my friends likes to tell me, where we have a 6-week, we could have a 6-week weather market. And I certainly think we need to keep an eye on that as well.
Absolutely. Darren Newsom, Senior Market Analyst at Bar Chart. Folks can get more at darrennewsom.com as well. Always good to talk with you, Darren. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you, Jesse.
He alluded to it. Coming up next, we'll talk weather with DTN meteorologist John Baranek right here on AOA.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark, and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You've got enough to worry about.
With tight budgets, unpredictable weather, and information overload, wouldn't it be great to have a resource that provided clear and concise summaries of the latest crop nutrition research? A single location to lessen your time spent searching for answers. With one-of-a-kind tools, the latest research, and original content, Economics is farming's go-to information resource. Find your answers at nutrient-economics.com. You've got enough to worry about. With tight budgets, unpredictable weather, and information overload, wouldn't it be great to have a resource that provided clear and concise summaries of the latest crop nutrition research? A single location to lessen your time spent searching for answers. With one-of-a-kind tools, the latest research, and original content, Economics is farming's go-to information resource. Find your answers at nutrient-economics.com.
Download the Farm and Ranch Media mobile app today and stay up to date with markets, ag weather, the latest news affecting agriculture, and much more. You can also listen back to past episodes of our farm programming from the American Ag Network, Agriculture of America, and Market Talk, along with podcasts such as American Ag Today, Cattle Chatter, Farm Unfiltered, Inside Dairy, and so much more. Search for Farm and Ranch Media in your Apple App Store or Google Play Store and download it for free today.
Looking for the perfect summer night? Head to Decatur and cheer on the Decatur Beanballers.
Experience exciting summer collegiate baseball, affordable family fun, great promotions, and an unforgettable atmosphere at the ballpark. Get your tickets and schedule at beanballers.com and catch Decatur Beanballers highlights all summer long on IL Sportswire.
The Illinois Emergency Management Agency has designated WHOW's many platforms on AM and FM, as well as WEZC 95.9 FM, as standby radio stations for emergency messages to be sent for severe weather, as well as for the Clinton Power Station. We also have a direct link to the National Weather Service for watches or warnings to air immediately when they're issued. Keep yourself and your family safe by tuning into the WHOW platforms on AM, FM, or streamed online, as well as on WEZC 95.9 FM.
Information America's farmers and ranchers need. AOA. Now, back to Jesse Allen.
Well, as we took a look at the weather over the holiday weekend, there were some areas of the country that saw some very heavy rainfall, flooding, severe weather. How localized was some of that heavy rainfall and flooding, though? That's something we want to talk about with DTN meteorologist John Baranek, who joins us right now on the show. John, hope you had a nice holiday weekend. And I got to ask, were you one of those that got inundated with some of that rainfall or not here over the weekend, John?